Okay, so this is what we are going to understand. We are going to understand comprehensive Microsoft security portfolio. And when it comes to comprehensive Microsoft security portfolio, various security solutions and integration. So we'll look at various security solutions and integrations, and then we'll look at solution-specific capabilities. And in the end, we will look at automation. So that's the agenda that we will start with. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's open that image. Is the image visible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get started. So this infographic basically shows an example of a bank of a country, which is a national bank of that country. For example, in our country, we have, when it comes to national bank, you've got HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank. They are nationalized and scheduled bank. Similarly, in that country, there's a bank with the name NBR. That bank has primarily two sites. You could say a main office, and then you could say a branch office. So these are two sites. These two sites have got a couple of, they have around, I would say around 1,000+ employees who work from these two sites. And those employees have their own devices, which includes desktop, laptop, mobile phones as well. And then the sites also contains data centers wherein they have got a couple of physical servers, virtual machine, which are based on VMware virtualization, are hosted at both the sites. These two sites are connected through MPLS, which is network configuration that allows resources at both the sites for the sharing and collaboration. And then this bank is quite heavy on Microsoft Azure. So this bank is basically using services from Microsoft Azure, and they are using Microsoft Azure virtual machines, storage account, virtual networks, databases. They're also using services across analytics. They're also using services across AI, ML. So this bank is quite heavy on Microsoft, and 80% of their infrastructure is actually hosted in Microsoft Azure cloud. So this is the Azure portal for the bank, and this Azure portal comprises of a couple of virtual networks, and those virtual networks are connected with their main office through an IPsec VPN tunnel, and they may also have an express route tunnel, which is a dedicated VPN between their on-premises site and their Azure virtual network. And they have this tunnel configured in a failover mode, wherein if the express route fails, the traffic, the IPsec VPN tunnel will take over to have high availability on the network communication. So that's the connectivity. Then comes, what do they have in Azure portal? So in Azure portal, they have got a couple of virtual machines, couple of storage accounts, file services, databases, and other services from Microsoft. Now, Azure portal, they also have Microsoft Sentinel deployed in Azure portal, and they are also using Microsoft Defender for cloud. Those are the two solutions they are using from Azure portal. Then comes their M365 portal, which is their Microsoft Defender portal. So since the bank also uses Microsoft 365, they've got Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, Yammer, Microsoft Teams, all Microsoft 365 Office products. So they also have some additional security services enabled here, which is their security portal. They have Microsoft Defender for endpoint configured. They have Microsoft Defender for identity. They have Microsoft Defender for vulnerability management. They have Microsoft Cloud App Security, and they also have a comprehensive experience which XDR brings on the table. So that's what they have in their M365 portal or Microsoft Defender portal. Then comes Intune. They're also using Intune for mobile device management, wherein all the mobile devices that belongs to employees, those mobile devices are also managed using Intune so that the mobile devices also comply to or adhere to organization security policies or their privacy governance architecture that they have built around this, around this solution to safeguard the interest of their customers as well as their own interest. So that's the comprehensive solution that they have. Now, when it comes to M365, they have these solutions. Intune they are also using. Now, the first thing that you would like to understand here with this diagram is that how come three different portals are communicating and collaborating. So the answer to this question is that though they are three different portals, but they all are part of Azure Cloud and they use the same directory service, which is known as Microsoft Entra ID. So Microsoft Entra ID is responsible for authentication and authorization here. It is responsible for authentication and authorization for this portal, and it is responsible for authentication and authorization for this portal also. And they also have Microsoft Entra ID Connect Sync agent configured through which all the identities that they are managing in their Active Directory domain service, in their domain controller, they are synchronizing to their cloud, to their Microsoft Entra ID, and hence they are able to see all the identities across three portals. So that's the first thing that you need to verify whether the statement is correct, whether it is the same case that it is the same identities that you see everywhere. So let's do that verification. So we'll navigate to the portal of the bank. So let's assume this is so I'm the admin of the bank and I have all the three portal open. I'll first show you the identity integration part. So first I'll navigate to Azure portal. On Azure portal, I'll navigate to Microsoft Entra ID. And in Microsoft Entra ID, I'll navigate to users. And here I will see all the users. So just to validate whether all the users are reflecting, I can see that there are a total of 15 users which are there in Microsoft Entra ID. And if I go to groups, I will see a total of 16 groups. So 15 users and 16 groups. Let's go to their Microsoft Defender portal. Now in Microsoft Defender portal, the service that manages the identities is admin.microsoft.com or the admin portal. So I'll navigate to admin portal from here itself by clicking on this, and I'll navigate to admin portal,
Hello.
which is there.
Hello,
Yes.
Raghu. Sorry to interrupt, but will you turn on the jump host? Because I'm trying to log in, but it is not happening. So,
Leave that
yeah.
part right now. Let's focus on what I'm explaining, guys.
Okay,
Don't
okay.
interrupt the flow. Okay.
Okay.
What I'm explaining is something that you will not get to hear anywhere because you will only find trainings on one product. I'm explaining the entire comprehensive security architecture of Microsoft. Okay. The other thing, then I'll turn on the jump host. That's absolutely fine. Right now, focus on this learning. Okay. Then I'll go to the other portal, which is Microsoft 365 admin portal. And if I click here, and if I click on the active users, you will find all those 15 users here. Obviously, it doesn't give you the count, but if I probably select display name, I will see the total number of users. So I don't see the count, but I can quickly count them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, till innocent it is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now one user is missing here, which is your account admin. So you will not see the account admin user here. You will only see the account admin user from the Microsoft, on Microsoft domain perspective. So only the account admin is missing because you don't use account admin user to log into admin portal. You basically create a work account to log into to the portal. So this user is only missing here. If you see carefully, and rest of the users are available. Okay, over here. So if I go to the users once again, you will see only one user missing, which is the account admin. So you will see Devraj Sharma twice over here. You will see this Devraj Sharma. This user is missing there because this Microsoft account with which you created the subscription, this user is missing. Rest of the users are available over here that you see on the admin portal. Then let's go to the group and let's see whether all the groups are available. So we'll go to active groups and we will see the active groups here. So when we click on security groups, you will see all the groups, because when it comes to Microsoft 365 Admins Center, you also have Microsoft 365 groups, the groups which are primarily meant for hosting mailboxes, which is separate, which is unique to this portal only. But if you go to security groups, you will see all the 16 security groups here that you have created. So you can count also, there are 16 security groups that you have created. Then let's go to the other portals. So we have seen this behavior in Azure portal as well as in admin portal. I'll go to now the portal which is my Intune portal. So this is my Intune portal, Microsoft Intune portal. Over here, if I click on users, I also have a users tab here. If I click on users here, I will see all my users. Those 15 users minus Devraj Sharma, who is the account admin. The private email address of Devraj Sharma with which he signed up. So you see all the users here. You will see all the users here, the 15 users. And if I go to the groups, I will see all the groups here. All the groups which are there in Microsoft Entra ID. Plus, I may see a specific group which I have already created in Intune. Right? So I'll see all the 16 groups here, you can see. So all those 16 groups reflect here. So what it tells you, it basically tells you that all the Microsoft security portals, they are integrated from identity perspective, which basically means that you can manage all the portals with the same identity, or in the backend, it is the same service that powers all the portals. Now, the benefit of this approach is that you don't need to manage identities separately in all the portal. You can manage identities at one place, whether you manage it in Azure, whether you manage it in admin portal, whether you manage it in Intune portal, and identities will synchronize across all the three portals. That's the first thing that you understand. The second thing is, when you need somebody to grant access to one portal, you can also grant that identity access to another portal without creating that identity separately in that portal. So Entra ID is the common service across all the three portals. In fact, you have a separate portal for Intune. It is the same service which also provides the same information. So that's about the identity synchronization part, that across Microsoft security portfolio or across Microsoft portfolio products. Now, I have not shown you the portal for SharePoint Online. I have not shown you the portal for Dynamic CRM. Even if you log into those portals, the reason I've not shown you because I do not have a subscription for it. But if I had taken subscription of those portals, you would have noticed that I would have the same identities, which is your users and group, reflecting in those portals also. So that's the beauty of Microsoft, that it is the same identity service that is powering all the portals. So that's one thing that you got to clarify with this. Now, if you notice the other thing, with the same user, I'm logged into all the three portals. So you can see my user, which is Defender XDR. With this user, I'm logged into Intune portal. With Defender XDR user over here, you can see DX Defender XDR user, I'm logged into 365 portal. And with Defender XDR, I'm also logged into Azure portal. You can see here, it is Defender XDR. And with Defender XDR, I'm also logged into security portal. So with the same user, I'm logged into all the portals. Now, it doesn't mean that the user will have the same level of privileges. No, it differs. Every portal has its own level of privileges. For example, in order to have access to this portal, Microsoft Defender, you will probably need Microsoft Entra ID roles plus service specific roles, the service that you're using in the portal. For example, Defender for Endpoint, it has its own RBAC that we created yesterday, and then other services also. When it comes to Intune, since Intune is tightly integrated with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, or what Microsoft did in order to increase the adoption of Microsoft Intune service, which is mobile device management capability, what Microsoft intentionally did it added endpoint security module in Intune, and majority of the EDR configuration that you need to do for Microsoft Defender for endpoint, which is related to antivirus, which is related to endpoint privilege management, which is related to endpoint detection and response, which is related to attack surface reduction and device compliance. All of these capabilities are integrated with Intune portal. So they have taken it out from Defender for Endpoint portal and they've integrated it here so that the customer comes here. And when the customer comes here, customer gets introduced to this portal. And along with that, customer gets introduced to additional capabilities that Intune brings on the portal with respect to mobile device management, device onboarding, which is Microsoft 365, Windows 365, and all the capabilities that it brings on the table with either, which includes partner integration also. So that's what Microsoft intentionally did to have Intune adoption increased over a period of time. And this really worked for Microsoft because when customer came to this portal, customer was made aware of the fact that I can also manage my mobile devices, which includes Android and iOS, using this portal. I can also manage my, it also supports integration with Chrome OS, which is, as we speak, is in preview. That is an additional preview that you need to enroll for, and then Microsoft will have that also reflecting here. And when this goes into GA, then it will be made available to all the customers. So this is on the integration part from that image. Then comes the capabilities. Yeah. Absolutely. On one of the portal. Mm-hmm.
One portal. If you have another encounter with your ID, then by default you are admin for controls.
Yeah. So the question here is, if I am an admin in Azure or if I'm an admin in Microsoft Entra ID, can I be an admin on all the portals? The answer is yes, but it is also no, because security portal contains separate security products. And those security products also have their inbuilt RBAC, role-based access control. So I also need to be an admin on that. But if it is about me that I'm an admin, obviously I will be an admin of all the products. But when it is about my end users, the users who will need access to these solutions, those users will work at different levels. Some of them will be SME across one product. Some of them will be level 1, level 2, level 3 users. So what I will be using to ensure zero trust approach, which is least privilege principle, which is assume breach has happened, conditional access, I will need to designate RBAC based on their roles and designations. So yes, I will be an admin for all the solutions, and that's exactly what I am with this Defender for XDR account. This Defender for XDR account is an account with which I actually subscribe to these services. So since I use this account to subscribe to the trial of all these products, yes, by default, I'm an admin of all of these solutions. But I'm an admin. Admin is somebody who will not take part into day-to-day operations. It is the operation team which comprises of engineers at all levels, including SMEs, who will take part into operational aspects, day-to-day operational aspects. So admin will need to designate members and grant them RBAC according to their roles and responsibilities. So there could be an SME who is an SME on Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and Microsoft Defender for Identity. So that person will be granted administrative access on two solutions, but that person is not an SME on Cloud App Security and Microsoft Defender for Vulnerability Management, or let's say Microsoft Sentinel. So that SME will be granted read-only access to the rest of the products. So the responsibility of Microsoft Entra ID admin, which I could be an Entra ID admin, or I could be just a finance team member of my company who has got the credit card information, who will use the account admin account to subscribe to a product and then hand it over to the admin team, who will then decide how identities and access will be managed, keeping in consideration the organization security policies or aligning it with identity and access management best practices of Microsoft Azure, as well as the mandate which is given by third-party experts. So that's how things will happen. Okay. Any questions from anyone, guys? Okay, let's move on. Now, the next part is, now that we've understood this part and we already have access to all of these products, then comes XDR. And as I explained, XDR is nothing but a collection of a couple of security solutions bundled into one license package that gives you access to these solutions. The experience capability of these solutions remains the same, whether you purchase them individually as an individual product, or you purchase them as a bundle in Microsoft 365 E5 license, or you purchase them as an XDR solution. The capability will remain the same. Definitely, XDR does not contain everything. For example, XDR does not have Microsoft Defender for Cloud or Microsoft Sentinel. So either you will purchase them separately or you go with E5 license. However, XDR has a data connector for Sentinel, which means all the Sentinel capabilities, all the alerts and incidents that are raised in Sentinel portal, they will also be displayed in Microsoft Security or Microsoft Defender portal. So that's the another thing that you need to understand here. Now let's imagine for a moment that all of these, that it's an XDR solution and all of these solutions are integrated with the help of XDR. So XDR stands for Extended Detection and Response, which enables the integration. Now I'll show you the other thing. Other than identities, your alerts and incidents, your discovery or your investigations, they are also integrated. So let's go to that part also. So what I will do, I will open those portals one by one and show you something common. Now, obviously, over here in Intune portal, which is more for a mobile device management, and here you only configure the configurations for Defender for Endpoint. You will obviously not have alerts here, alerts and incidents here. So let's leave this portal, but we'll go to 3 different portals and I'll show you something. So first, I'll go to Microsoft Azure portal, where I have 2 solutions, which is Microsoft Defender for Cloud and Microsoft Sentinel. So let's navigate to Microsoft Defender for Cloud first. So when I go to Microsoft Defender for Cloud, over here, I have a capability with the name Security Alerts. Now, when I click on this capability, I'll see a couple of alerts here. I'll see a couple of sample alerts here, which I have generated to show you the capability across other solutions that Defender for Cloud can prevent. But we have actually not built those solutions because we don't have enough funds. B, we don't know about the intricacies of these solutions, but then we can see the alerts like sample DB and other alerts. So you see some alerts here, over here, and you can also see some additional alerts, which is access from a to exit node. So let me just go to all these alerts. So you see all of these sample alerts here, right? Now I'll go to Sentinel portal and I'll see whether I can see the same alerts in Sentinel also. Because at one place I'm telling you that all of these softwares are integrated with the help of Microsoft Defender XDR. So I'll go to Sentinel, and here in the Sentinel, I'll go to incidents. So you will be surprised to see that Sentinel also have the same alerts here. You see all the sample alerts. If I just drag to the right, you will see all the same alerts, storage account, access. These are all sample alerts. The one that you see in Microsoft Defender portal, they're also available in Sentinel alerts, Sentinel incidents. The same is available. The way of presenting them is different because what Sentinel is doing, Sentinel is combining them. And here Sentinel shows that related to this, there are 97 alerts. Related to this is a common incident, and there are 22 alerts which contribute to this incident. So the way of presenting is different, but the information is same. Now I'll go to Microsoft Defender portal, which is the 3rd portal. And in this portal, I'll also go to investigation and response. Here I see incidents and alerts, and I'll go to alerts. And you will once again see that all the alerts are present here also. So you can see here attempts to, now here what it is doing, it is basically showing you in different, because this is alerts. So you see all the alerts separately. So you see all the alerts here, that you see in Sentinel, you see these alerts in Sentinel also, and these sample alerts that you have seen in Defender for Cloud also. So what it means, it basically means that because of XDR capability, if I had not enabled XDR, then obviously these alerts will be separate in each portal that caters to that service only. So Sentinel alerts will be isolated in Sentinel portal. Defender alerts will be isolated in Defender portal, and Microsoft 365 Defender alerts will be isolated in Microsoft 365 portal. But because of XDR capability in place, alerts are common across all the portals. Now I give you a choice where exactly you want to manage them. You can manage these alerts from anywhere, from any of these portals, because when you try to manage, the experience that you get will be similar across all portals. You will get the same capabilities, same options, same disposition statements, everything will be common across all portals. So I leave the decision to you whether you want to manage it from Defender. You probably want to do it from Defender because you know that in Defender portal, you have other solutions also. So probably this could be the best place because this contains 7-8 solutions. However, in Azure, you only have 2 solutions. And in Microsoft Defender for Cloud, it is only that solution only. So this is what organizations do when they have Defender XDR service in place. They would typically prioritize Microsoft Defender or security portal for the management of all alerts and incidents from one place. Or what some customers do, they also have a third-party ITSM solution in place, which is ServiceNow, BMC Remedy, Jira, which has the capability of managing incidents, problems, change requests, release and rollback deployment. So what they do, they integrate those third-party ITM solution with Microsoft Defender. And how do they integrate? They will configure the alert notification and they will type the DL, the distribution list of that solution. And with that, all these incidents and alerts based on severity and priority are sent to that solution and they are converted into P1, P2, P3, low, medium, high, whatever disposition you use in that solution. So there is a mapping that you do while you configure the integration and they can be forwarded to that solution. And then your SOC team, your NOC team, your security team, your operations team can be granted access to those solutions and they can manage it effectively from those solutions also. But as a Microsoft, as a Microsoft security, I would say practitioner, I would always recommend customers to not use third-party solutions because the similar incident and problem management capability is available in, it is available inherent in these solutions. Over here, I can manage everything. I can select an alert and I can go to the details of that alert. I can assign that alert to an employee. Employee means a Microsoft Entra ID identity who is synchronized here. You can see unassigned here. I can go ahead and manage incident over here and I can assign this example here. I can select the incident name and I can assign this alert to any of the user of my Entra ID. I would have groups created for my NOC team, SOC team, my security team. I can directly assign it to that group and then it will go to all the users. Whosoever is available in the shift will pick up the alert, in his or her name and troubleshoot it. Or I can assign it to individual users also because I see all of it here. I can change the status of the alert. I can change the classification of the alert. I can put certain comments and save it. And then it goes to that person. That person gets the notification on his registered email address as well as on his system. He gets the pop-up and then the person starts to work on it. When that person is working, if that person wants to further assign it to somebody else, probably an L2 picks up the alert, but L2 doesn't have capability or access to resolve it. So L2 does some initial triage, provides the comment, provide the comments here, and then save it and select somebody else. And now that alert goes to some other person. So that's how you continue to collaborate. And you have the same ITSM experience that you will have in ServiceNow or BMC Remedy, which are the leading ITSM tool for incident and problem management. So you don't need those tools. And while you resolve this, while you try to use this experience here, the best part is you will have very comprehensive view of these incidents across multiple visualization pattern. You can visualize these incidents or alert based on graphs. You can visualize them based on plain text, and you will get a lot of information available that will, I'm saying, you will get information till the point that if there is an attack, then who the attacker is, what system the attacker was using, what was the technique, and say does the mapping with various attack frameworks like Mitre framework. You see all the information. You in fact see the source of that alert. For example, this alert was actually triggered in Sentinel. So it says that you can see the rule in Sentinel which basically triggered this alert. The rule or condition or use case in Sentinel that you have configured, which somehow got violated, which somehow got deviation because of this alert or incident was generated. And then you can see the details of this incident. When you click on it, you will specifically see detail for each incident, and you will see what was those two IPs that was involved wherein this alert got triggered. These were the two IPs. You can see the user who was involved in this alert. This is the PIM approver user. You can see additional information from this user in terms of browser that the user was using, the coordinates, and say a lot of information that comes from each alert depending on how have you configured that service, how have you configured that use case, what all information you actually configured to be captured from that alert that will be shown to the users. So you see a lot of information here. Now, this training is not about teaching you or explaining how incidents are resolved. This training is more about understanding Microsoft security portfolio, use cases, and implementation approach. Because you already work as an engineer, SOC analyst, senior SOC analyst, engineer, senior engineer, subject matter expert, or probably the lead of your team. So you already have more than information that I would know around this domain or around this part, because you do it day in, day out, and I'm somebody who doesn't do it day in, day out. I'm somebody who only talks about it when I am delivering a training session. So you have more information than what I carry as we speak. So I'll not spend much time here. Now I'll come back to the design once again, infographic, and continue with that. So the second part I've just shown you that the IDs are integrated, the alerts are also integrated because of this XDR. So this XDR is actually enabling that part. And where exactly you've configured this XDR, what is the source of this XDR, where the XDR is configured? It is Microsoft Sentinel where you have configured this XDR. So if you go to Microsoft portal, and if you navigate to Microsoft Sentinel, you will notice that you have a data connector configured for XDR, which is actually doing all of this integration. So with the help of this data connector that you have configured here in Sentinel, this is the data connector, which is Microsoft XDR. Because of this data connector, it is happening that all the, it is here, this XDR data connector. Because of this data connector, all the Microsoft security portal services are automatically configured here. You can see Entra ID protection. You can see Microsoft Office, Microsoft Defender. You see Microsoft Defender for Cloud Ops, for endpoint, for identity. All they are coming because of this XDR connector. And you also have Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which is configured because of this connector, which is where you've configured Microsoft Defender for Cloud at the tenant based. So all the subscriptions of this tenant are automatically populated here. So because of this connector, all the information, all the incidents and alert from Microsoft, from security.microsoft.com, as well as from other products are integrated here. And same is the case, the alerts from this product, they are integrated into other solutions. So this connector is actually doing the trick. The moment you delete this connector, all these solutions will automatically disappear. And then you will have an isolated view for all the portals. You will not have alerts or incidents getting synchronized. So this is what is doing the trick here. Moving on.
Yeah. A question here on this. Is it a two-way synchronization that anything that Sentinel categorizes as incident is fed back to XDR to show as incident?
That's exactly what I showed.
Okay.
All the things that was in Sentinel was there in Microsoft Defender, and they were also there in Microsoft 365 Defender. It's a two-way synchronization. In fact, if you pick up one alert and try to manage it in one portal, it automatically gets synchronized in the other portal. Yep. I
Sure.
would not
Thank
say
you.
that this is 100% accurate synchronization. Obviously, each solution has its own way of presenting the information. So you will probably find more capability in one solution as compared to the other. But as far as alert synchronization comes, they are the same. And that's the reason I said that if you want me to tell what is one portal that I should use as a centralized alert and incident management, I would suggest to go with Microsoft Security Portal, the Defender portal, security.microsoft.com, because there you will have additional tools also. So you can simultaneously configure the tool and you can simultaneously manage the alerts and incident also, which is not possible in Microsoft Defender for cloud, because there you will not have access to Defender for endpoint, Defender for identity and other solutions, which is not possible in Sentinel because you will not have access to Defender for cloud and other products. But in Microsoft Security, you will have access to majority of the products, because as part of XDR offering, now everything is synchronized here. In fact, your Sentinel is shown here. You can see you can directly manage Sentinel from here also. So majority of the things you see here, in fact, your Microsoft Defender for Cloud is here. This attack surface management, exposure insight, secure score, this data connector, this all is coming from Defender. So this secure score functionality that you see here, this is fed by Defender to this portal. So this should be your portal for reference. I would rather suggest if you really want to have a centralized experience for managing everything. But for this to work, you need to have XDR service. You need to have a license for XDR, and you need to have XDR service data connector configured in Microsoft Sentinel. Then only this experience you will be able to see. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, next. So after that we have configured all of it, then I will explain about the use case. That see, you've invested thousands of dollars, you've configured all of these, you've purchased these services, but wow, what is the use case? What is the ultimate objective that you had in mind? What are you going to achieve out of this configuration? That is where comes the two aspects, which is proactive security and reactive security. Proactive security basically means that I have got some policies, I have got some use cases, and I want to make sure that those violations, those deviations do not happen in my environment. For example, I have a list of IP addresses that I don't want my employees to browse. They are blacklisted. I have a list of domains, URLs that I don't want my employees to browse. I have a list of applications that I don't want my employees to use at all. So I want to make sure that nobody is able to access these solutions. This is proactive. And that is where the Defender for endpoint comes into the picture. Defender for cloud apps comes into the picture. Defender for vulnerability management comes into the picture. Defender for identity comes into the picture. So I will have in Defender, I will have IOC configured, wherein I will block access to certain softwares and applications through their hashes, certain IP addresses, URLs, domains, and also application through certificates. So this is what I'm going to do to ensure proactive security. Now this also have behavior analysis, so it will continue to analyze the behavior of my users, and whenever there are deviations in behavior, since it is tightly integrated with Microsoft Entra ID conditional access, it will throw additional authentication methods, or it will block that behavior all of a sudden. So there is a user who always logs in from India at 2 o'clock in the morning in Australia. The user is trying to log in. The same identity is being used. The conditional access will quickly trigger. It will throw an additional factor authentication to the user, which that hacker may not be able to satisfy. And that way, it will be able to proactively stop an attack, an incident from happening, an hacking attack or a brute force attack from happening. So that's your proactive part. The other examples of proactive part are you don't want your endpoint, you don't want any data leakage from your endpoint. So I will have policies that will block USB device, any memory stick, USB drive, any memory, any storage media to be connected to my endpoints, be it a physical laptop or a server or a virtual machine, so that nobody can take data from there. Even the service provider, the cloud service provider, if they try to connect to my virtual machine to steal some data, this policy will stop them to do that. And in fact, I will get as soon as this violation happens, I will also get an incident created that will help me to identify why this violation happened, who did this violation, what was the context of it, and then I can take corrective measures to stop certain behavior in future, right? So I will have additional solutions like attack surface reduction, anti-malware policies. I can directly exclude files or stop certain behaviors. That's my proactive security that I will be managing using a suite of these solutions, which is endpoint identity, vulnerability management, cloud app security, and XDR capabilities. Then comes reactive. Reactive basically means that now what has happened, somebody, let's say there was an employee in my company, that employee left on Friday. Friday is the last working day for the employee. So today is Saturday. Yesterday that employee left, and as part of HR policy or our security policy, the security team has disabled the account of that employee. You never delete the account when somebody leaves. You disable the account. You disable all the accounts of that identity, and then you have them retained for a couple of days to a week till the time you're 100% sure that the person will not come back, because sometimes employee come back and they need the same level of access and credential. Sometimes you need to retain their information, probably consolidate all the data, and then you need to delete their identities. So what if somebody left on Friday and on Saturday evening you see some activities from that account? There is an attempt to log in to an application using that account ID, disabled account. Now what is this? This is not a proactive security. Why? Because the attempt is happening from an IP address that is not blacklisted. It is probably happening from the same, probably the same person is trying to log in, or somebody else is trying to log in, or probably some other employee. It's an insider attack. Some employee is trying to do. So this is known as reactive, which basically means that you will also have security configured, or a use case configured, wherein if there is any attempt to sign in from a disabled account to an application, you would have quickly identified it. This is reactive because you will only identify it once this occurs. Once this has happened, then you identify it. That is reactive. But this can also be automated, which means as soon as it happens from an IP address, and if the IP address is the same in the attack, and this attempt is happening multiple times from the same IP or from the same device, you will have automation configured, which will quickly disable that IP, which will quickly add that IP address to your blacklist into Microsoft Defender for endpoint, so that any further attack from that IP will be contained here itself. So these solutions are integrated with one another, right? Then comes brute force attack. Let's say there is another use case wherein somebody is trying to log into Azure portal or Microsoft 365 portal or Intune portal, and is supplying a combination of user ID and password, or probably the correct user ID but a different combination of password, because user IDs are common these days. I'm saying, if I most of the people have their user ID as their first name dot last name at domainname.com. For example, ramesh.kumar at abc.com. I can easily identify, or I can get the user IDs. User IDs are similar to their email IDs, so I can perform a social engineering attack, and I can easily find the user ID of a person, but I don't know the password. For that, I will need to trigger a brute force attack. So I can use bots to trigger a brute force attack, which will, from multiple locations at the same time or at some interval, will try to access the application using that ID. So my Sentinel will be quick to capture this behavior and in the form of incident. And if you configure automation here, this is something that we will do. We will do all these three use cases. And if you capture that behavior, Sentinel will also have automation in place, whereas Sentinel will quickly disable that identity, the one that is used for this attack. If there are multiple, Sentinel will disable those identities. And then if the bot continues to trigger that attack, other than disabling the identity, Sentinel will share this information with Microsoft Defender for endpoint, where an indicator will be created to block that attempt in future, proactively by putting that IP into a blacklist or by putting that URL into a blacklist, right? Then comes the third use case, which is RDP brute force attack or SSH brute force attack. you have a couple of servers like jump host, or you have web servers that are configured with public IP, and somebody is trying to access those servers, Linux servers or Windows server, by using a combination of credentials, which is again a brute force attack on your endpoints. So Sentinel will be quick to identify that brute force attack and communicate it to the Microsoft Defender for endpoints, so that as part of that attack, the incident will have an option to create an indicator, and that IP address will be added as an indicator or a blacklisted IP address here. So these are my use cases that I will basically, that you all will configure in your solutions, and then you all will act as a hacker, wherein I will ask you to act wear the head of a hacker and then try to exploit all of these use cases, and then you will then you will become an admin and see whether these use cases are triggering alerts and incidents in the respective portal. And after they trigger alert and incident, then you will work further to investigate. And as part of your investigation, you will use the automation solution, or you will do further. You will add those signals, be it an IP address, device type, browser, into your blacklist. So this is all we are going to do. We will do this. Today, tomorrow, day after, and the rest of the training, because this is the entire experience that you need to understand. And this entire experience will give you some learning around all the solutions. So you will know something of everything, and then everything of something you can only know by your practice, by more detailed training. For example, we'll cover Sentinel, but we would not be able to spend more than 5, 6, 10 hours on Sentinel. However, on my channel, I have a detailed training of Sentinel, which spends for 48 hours, when I'm covering every minute aspect of Sentinel. I'm actually covering more than 20 use cases that participants are building in their lab environment. They themselves are exploiting them, and then they are putting appropriate controls to fine tune those use cases. So something that we will not do, but we will have a look and feel of almost all the solutions, so that it will give you a comprehensive knowledge, and you can go back to your management and say that now we also know what happens behind the scene. We have been working at the ground all the time, preventing, containing those incidents and alerts, but now we also know what happens behind the scene, what exactly our admin has configured, and probably you will learn something that does not exist in your current configuration, and you can put this as a suggestion to your management and say, you know what, in the training I've learned this use case and I don't see it configured here in our environment. Can we configure that use case and we see a need of that use case to be configured, because we see this a common use case which is not there. So as part of this, I will also share some documentation with you around all the solutions that I have access to, that I have in my repository, which will also help you understand with a detailed understanding of these solutions. And as I said, I've got session recordings available on these solutions from my previous batches. It is just a matter of time. Whenever I get time and bandwidth, I will have those session recordings uploaded on my channel, so that it gives benefit to all the people who will browse that channel. So I'll take a pause here. That is all I wanted to share in terms of the agenda and scope of training for the remainder part of the Turing duration. I'm open to questions or any input or any suggestions that you may have as part of this explanation.
Yeah,
I have a
Raghuveer,
question
so
from the
I
room.
have
Yes, Kunal.
yes, I have a question. So basically, I just wanted to know when you deploy a policy. So there are two types of policy, right? The user-based policy, the categories. So user-based policy is one of them, and the other one is device-based policy, right? So in Intune. Hello?
Please carry on.
Yeah. So which of them is better? If you check the pros and cons for both of the categories, which one is better?
No.
I just
So
wanted to know your point of view.
it's like two sides of a coin. It's
Yeah.
not, you cannot compare user-based versus device-based. For example, they have their own use cases. Now, in Microsoft Defender for endpoint, you put device-based policies because you're managing endpoints, you're not managing users. But in Microsoft Defender for identity, you put user-based policies because you're managing identities. So there is no comparison between user-based and device-based policy. It is two sides of a coin, and both sides are important. They have their own place and they have their own significance, and you need to pick and choose what is most appropriate in your case.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
it is two different things. There is no comparison. They are not substitute of one another, that I can substitute one with another.
Understood.
Okay. Any other question, guys?
Yeah, Raghuveer, the base for all these security tools to work together is that log analytics workspace that we create, right? So everybody really, all the logs really gets dumped there, and then they are correlated and incidents are generated, right?
Not exactly, Sachin. The base for reactive security, which is Sentinel, is log analytics workspace. But the
Okay.
base for proactive security, which is Defender, is the cyber threat intel, signature information, and the existing capability that these solutions have, because these solutions are not feeding on logs at all. For Microsoft Defender for endpoint, all of the entire solution that you see, all these 4 or 5 solutions, they are feeding on cyber threat intel, which is coming from Microsoft, some additional threat intel that they are receiving, and their existing virus definitions and signatures that they have. Log analytics is only the food for Sentinel. Sentinel feeds on logs which are ingested into log analytics workspace, and the log analytics workspace is onboarded into Sentinel.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So when it comes to costing, when I was discussing with the sales team, they said if the log sources are Azure based, when it comes to Sentinel, then the ingress cost of the logs is zero, and hence it is beneficial to the customer if there is their entire log source base is Azure base, right? But if we are just not Azure, we are just using Sentinel, but their workload is not Azure based, then it is a expensive solution comparatively for them.
Obviously, see,
Yeah.
if your log sources are in Azure and your log repository is also in Azure, which means both the sources and repository is part of Azure, so you're not paying for any ingress traffic, right? The only thing that you are paying for is the log storage, log ingestion per day, the log analytics cost. So you're not paying, so you're only paying for log ingestion. But when your log sources are across multiple locations, then you're not directly ingesting logs. Sometimes you're putting in place gateways, because there could be a location which is isolated where you don't have internet. For example, manufacturing sites, plants, nuclear power plant, you don't have internet access, because if those sites are compromised, I'm saying the man-made disaster can happen. So for example, I support a customer, Exalta, which is the second largest paint and automotive coating manufacturer in the world after PPG. Now Exalta has plant across multiple locations in the world. In those plants, they don't have internet access on any server. Why? Because those servers are managing the boilers where the chemical is accumulated, testing is done, and chemical boils to as a manufacturing process. If that boiler explodes, then within the radius of 5 miles there will be no lives, no humans. That's the criticality of that plant. So what they have as a security measure, as per the industry regulation or compliances of the country, they will not have internet in the plant. So the entire system is isolated. Now, how will you get logs from those systems? So you will be putting additional capabilities, additional solutions like gateways, right? So that is why the sales team told you that if you have your systems outside of Microsoft, then there will be some additional cost of bringing the logs into the Azure. But if your systems are in Azure, then it is the same Azure network backbone which will get leveraged, and you will have less cost. But the storage cost will remain the same in both cases. It is more on the configuration and the additional component that goes into the design.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same on this. Yeah.
Any other question? Okay, I have a question from Dev also. Yes, Dev.
We assign a role. We assign an incident to a SOC team in whatever. Where will they able to see the assignment from portal as well?
Yeah, so your team members will also have access to these portals. You will grant them appropriate roles, not admin portal. I'm saying it is the same portal, but they will have less options. I'm saying their capabilities will be less depending on what access you will grant them. So if you grant somebody access to Microsoft Defender for endpoint, that person will not be able to see what is there in identity, MCAS, and other solutions. So depending on the level of access that you will grant to an employee or to an identity, the identity will be able to see configurations in the portal. So if you've assigned, let's say if I assign an incident, to you, then I will also need to grant you access to that solution so that you will be able to see the incidents of that solution. Because incidents and alert is the common portal for all the solutions. But you will only be able to see what the level of access that has been assigned to you. And then while troubleshooting and investigating those incidents, you will need access to those VMs also, right? You will need access to the solution also. So I will give you appropriate access, and wheresoever you are lacking access, it means that at your level, that is all you can do. That is where you will further escalate or assign that ticket or incident to another person higher in hierarchy who has the capability and access to resolve it. That's how we do operations across the globe. Make sense? Okay. Any other question, guys? All right. If there are no more questions, I will first give you some demos in the session with respect to these capabilities, and then I would expect you to configure these capabilities, some of these capabilities yourself. I will give you a disclaimer here today itself. When it comes to this XDR part, since Microsoft is consolidating, integrating multiple solutions together, there is a latency. There is an expected latency, which I also experienced yesterday when I tried to configure all of these solutions yesterday. I could experience a latency. Then I explored Microsoft documentation, and I could see, I was so happy to see these notes on the documentation. So they have specifically written that after you complete this, so I was actually integrating AMCAS with MDE, and after I did the integration, for an hour, I could not see anything happening. And I got worried because this is not how it happens. It is so quick in the production environment. Then I looked into the documentation, and since I always go by OEM documentation, I was so relieved to read the statement which says it takes up to 2 hours after you enable the integration of data, integration for the data to show up in Defender for cloud apps. Similarly, when I created indicators for IP and URL, for another 2-3 hours, it didn't work. And I was so worried. I was looking into logs, the event log. I was looking into the policy compliance to see why these are not getting propagated on endpoints. Then I read this statement, which is there may be up to 2 hours of latency between the time a policy is created and the URL or IP is being blocked on the device. So when Microsoft is intentionally saying 2 hours, you could imagine that how much time it may take. The service provider always gives you less time, right? So you need to be patient here. And that is where what we are going to do. We're going to do this configuration today, and we will probably leave our systems up and running tonight so that if there is anything which is not getting synchronized, you will have sufficient time for the solution to get synchronized. And that's exactly what has happened last night. It gave me a lot of trouble, lot of unnecessarily trouble that I took by waiting for that synchronization to work. And in the end, it did not work. And then I called it a day. In the morning when I got up, I was amazed to see that the entire synchronization happened all night and things were working as expected. So I'll show you a couple of configurations that I'm talking about, and then I will have you do all those configurations yourself. The reason I'm showing you first so that you get a confidence that yes, even if it doesn't work the very next moment after you configure it, it doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It basically means that solution is so lengthy, so integrated that it is taking time to have propagation done from one solution to another because they are integrated. The other reason that I can tell you, however, I will not be able to show you documentary evidence around that reason because it is not mentioned anywhere. I'm just telling you from my personal experience or something that I got to hear from somebody who is an internal, who is part of a PG team of Microsoft, that the that the trial version of Microsoft security that you are using versus the production environment, they are configured across different data centers. So where they have configured the production, they are putting more efficiency. That is more highly available and that works really faster as compared to the trial, because trial is an expense, and when there is an expense involved, you would always want to cut cost, even though it is a trade-off between cost and experience and user experience. You would want to cut cost because you don't want to increase your cost unnecessarily, and that you have seen evident in the last a couple of years post corona, post covid. You have seen companies cutting expenses a lot in terms of taking multiple measures to cut out on their on their day-to-day expenditures and trying to maintain a balanced healthy balance sheet in terms of pleasing their investors and board of directors. So sometimes technology connects with how it happens in real time. Okay, so let me show you a couple of use cases in my lab that I configured yesterday, which are perfectly working fine. So I'll start with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, wherein I have configured some indicators, and I have actually blocked certain websites, certain URLs across different categories, and I'll show you that they are exactly synchronizing. And on my endpoints that are protected by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint solution, the exact behavior is happening, whatever I've configured. So let's get started. Okay. So we'll start with some IOCs that I have configured. In the image, you see IOCs there. So I'll start with some IOCs. I have configured some indicators in terms of certificates, IP, URL, and hashes, and I'll show you their functioning. Okay, so let me first show you the configuration, guys. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Let's look at Microsoft Defender for Endpoint first. So on the security portal, I'll navigate to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and you know that any configuration that you need to do around the product, you navigate to system, then you navigate to settings, and you see that product mentioned there. So we'll see endpoint here. There we go. We'll click on endpoints, and over here I have done the configuration. So I'll directly go to the configuration, which is indicators, and here you will see that I've configured a couple of indicators for URLs and domains, and I'll show you the list of it. So I have just done the filtering here, sorting here. So you can see I have configured indicator for cloud storage. See, cloud storage is one such option that has been exploited a lot by employees to steal data. So what employees do, they upload data into cloud storage, and then they have that storage accessible. Then they have the configuration similar to secure access storage, similar to signed URL configured, and then they access that data from outside of your corporate network on their personal device, and they steal the data. So as a security measure, the entire configuration that you will see that I am demonstrating is similar to a production environment that I typically support to my customers. So what I've done, since Microsoft Azure Blob Storage is also and a legitimate software. So what I've done, I've configured an indicator and I've said that any combination of this, because I may have smart employees who will try to manipulate the URL to get access to it. So I have put all the combinations of the URL for Azure Blob Storage, and I've taken the action as warning. So this will warn end user, and end user will still have a discretion to continue with it or stop using that service. And I have configured the alert severity as medium. I have, I have decided the scope is all devices. So right now, whatever policies and controls I'm configuring in all devices. But in a production environment, you can have devices configured across group and policies configured based on the requirements. So right now, this is all devices. Then none of this expires, which means whatever I've configured will remain permanent. And then this is the title, what I've configured. This is the solution. So this is what I've configured. So you can see I've configured Azure Blob Storage warning. And then for some of the URL, it is completely block execution. For example, Dropbox is a third-party storage. I don't want anything to go on Dropbox because I will not have control on Dropbox. So anything related to Dropbox is blocked right from day one. Then I'll move further, and I have also configured some social networking websites, and I have blocked them also, which is all combination of Facebook that you can think of, all combination of personal email storage like Gmail, all combinations of Google Drive, Instagram I also blocked, LinkedIn I'm blocking, Microsoft OneDrive, which is once again legitimate product because my company uses Microsoft Azure. So I have just put the warning here. And for additional Microsoft Outlook, I'm blocking it. You can see. So Yahoo, I'm also blocking it. I'm not saying that you only block it. It's your discretion. When you create an indicator, you can always decide on the action, whether you want to block it, whether you want to configure it in audit mode, whether you want a warning to be shown to your users, whether you want an incident created against that activity. That's the admin discretion. And it differs from company to company based on your requirement and industry vertical. So I've done some blocking here that you can see here. I've done some blocking. Now I'll show you that this is actually working. This took almost overnight to get synchronized. So this blocking is on all the devices. Now, what do you mean by all devices here? All devices basically means all the devices on which Microsoft Defender for Endpoint solution is configured. So how will I know all the devices? There are two options. I can go to, on the same portal, I can navigate to assets and I can click on devices. Here I will see all the devices which are subject to this control or to this configuration. So I see a total of 14 devices. However, it will not apply to all the devices. The policy will only apply to devices which are managed by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Now, for some of the devices, you see that they are not managed. They are saying unknown. The reason it says unknown, because these devices do not exist. These devices were deleted yesterday, and it takes up to 24 hours to have this information disappear from the portal. So this is a bit confusing. That is where you have another solution which provides you exact information, and that is your Intune solution. So I'll navigate to Intune. In Intune, I can click on devices, and Intune will only show you devices which are managed by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. And why Intune is only showing you those devices? Because right now I'm not using Intune as a standalone software. I'm using Intune as a complement to endpoint security. So I am not onboarding anything from Intune. Only things that are onboarded in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint are shown in Intune. So these are 8 devices that I have. You can see here. These are 8 devices which are managed by Intune and which are managed by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and they are reflecting in Intune. And on these devices, I can test it. So what I will do, I will pick up. I'll just connect to one or two of these devices. So I'll take a remote of a client OS and I'll take remote of a server OS, and then I'll show you these capabilities. So let me navigate to my portal so that I can take a remote of these solutions. And now I can turn on the machine that you wanted. So right now you all are into read-only mode. Just try and understand the things that I'm doing. Do not try to configure it. I will give you sufficient time to configure it, and I will also give you guidance to configure it, that how do you want to configure it. So what I'm going to do, I'm turning all the VMs on. I should have turned the limited VMs, but by mistake, I have just executed, I've just started all the VMs. So once these VMs are up and running, I'll probably take one client and one server to show you the experience. The experience will remain the same. You can do it on any of the VMs.
Raghu, I have a couple of questions here.
Sure.
So one question is regarding on the Defender portal, where you have shown like some of the devices you might have deleted, you might have shut down, right? Those entries are like how long will they stay in the Defender portal if the machine is not communicating to the Defender portal? The stale entries.
Come again.
I mean to ask these stale. See, once we decommission the machine, right, or we destroy the VM, how long that stale entries will stay back in the Defender portal?
Okay, if you follow the right method, which is the offboarding method, it will disappear in 24 hours. If you don't follow the method, which is you directly delete the VM from the portal, then the VM will appear for 30 days. However, you can navigate, you can manually delete that VM, manually delete that entry from the portal. But if you ask me the default behavior, anything which is offboarded as per the process is gone, disappears within 24 hours. When I say 24 hours, it may disappear next moment also. It says within 24 hours. Anything that is not offboarded as per the process, it will take up to 30 days to disappear. And Microsoft strongly condemn that behavior and say, please do not deviate from process, because it also creates a lot of concern, and this may create synchronization issue. This may also create configuration issue, because you may end up selecting that endpoint by mistake, which does not exist at all. And that will create deviation in your policies, because the compliance of the policies will not be 100% then. Because the policy could not find a device, so it will say a failed device. That failed device will create an incident. When the investigator goes and tries to look for the device, investigator will not find the device. So this will open a Pandora box, because things are interrelated. So always follow the best practice for onboarding and offboarding.
Raghu, if there is an article, could you please share any article which talks about this process?
Yep, obviously. I can, if you want about Defender for Endpoint, you can just type Microsoft Defender for Endpoint offboarding. Just read this article, you will get the information.
Okay,
so it says, following the corresponding instruction, depending on your pre-deployment method, the status of a device switches to inactive 7 days after offboarding. Data such as timeline, alert, vulnerabilities from the devices were offboarded remains in the portal until the configured retention period expires. The device profile without data remains in device inventory for no longer than 180 days. And then the devices that were not active in last 30 days aren't factored into the data. So you get all the information. Right? You just need to go to the right article, and this keeps changing. Don't just trust this information. This is not the permanent information. It keeps on changing. And that is where you always need to make sure that you refer to the OEM documentation. And on the OEM documentation also, you need to refer to, you always look for the article date also, the last updated dates, very important. Sometimes Microsoft itself is not updating the documentation, which may spread ambiguous information. And for that, the right approach is to experience it yourself, go to the portal and see the options there. So this is what you can do. Okay. All right. Let me connect to this VM, which is Windows 10. So I'll show you experience for one VM. So I'll copy the IP of this VM. So I'm connecting to the VM, and to avoid just-in-time access and the delay that it causes, I have removed all the VMs out of just-in-time access so that I can quickly connect to these VMs. So I'm connected to Windows 10. Now I will also simultaneously connect to the other VM, one of the server operating system. So let's say I'll connect to 2019. I'm connecting to server operating system now. And I'm connected to server operating system also. So I'm connected to both the VMs, the client VM and server operating system. Let's start with the client VM. So I'm on the client VM now. Okay. So on the client VM, I'll open the browser. Now on the servers or some organizations, what they do, they strictly prohibit certain browsers and they only have Microsoft or Internet Explorer configured in their environment, because rest of the browsers could be vulnerable to security attack, and you also don't manage the patching and update of those browsers directly from SCCM and other solutions. So some organizations, or I would say most of the customers that I work with, they do not allow third-party browser on their servers. So this is my browser. Now I will type those websites here. So I'll start with Facebook. Facebook, as per the indicator, was blocked. Let's see if it opens Facebook or blocks it. So you can see it says Facebook is blocked. The website is blocked by your organization, hosted by facebook.com. Contact your administrator for more details. Visit the support and go back. There is no option to proceed further. You can only go back. Then let's say I'll try to open Gmail. Gmail was another website that I blocked. See, Gmail is coming as blocked. I'll try Twitter. Let's see if Twitter works. See, Twitter is also coming as blocked. I'll try OneDrive.com. Right? OneDrive was configured with an error, with a warning. So I'll go to OneDrive.com. Now, okay, it is still have Twitter. It is trying to open. So this OneDrive basically come. Now this is where you need to understand the behavior that I type OneDrive.com. But in my portal, I do not have that URL configured. So you need to, so this is where it calls for active, it calls for first testing the control and then deploying it to the rest of the systems. So first you will have a test systems where the controls will be tested, all the behaviors will be tested, and then you will move further. So if I go to the indicators once again, I can see that I was able to open OneDrive. So I'll see whether OneDrive is blocked or not. And if it is blocked, then whether this specific URL is blocked or not. So I'll go to URL and domain. So Facebook was getting is blocked. So OneDrive. No, OneDrive is not here actually. You have Google Drive and then Dropbox. There is no OneDrive and Azure Blob Storage. So for example, this, if I want to access any Azure Blob Storage, it will always have in the URL blob.co.windows.net because without this, you will not be able to access the blob storage. So if I copy this and and you can see it is configured as warning. So I go to the system and I will type the same URL and hit enter, and you will see it says you can't access this page because this is incorrect. But if I type the actual storage account, it will go as blocked because I will get the warning here. It will not allow me to access it. Then anything else that you want to test, for example, Dropbox. Dropbox is blocked and most of the URLs of Dropbox is blocked, like dropbox.co.uk, dropbox.com. Any combination of Dropbox that you think is actually blocked here. So I'll go and try dropbox.com. And you can see it is coming as blocked. So Dropbox is also blocked here. Now I'll try something for which I've configured the warning so that you will see that how warning part works. So example, this OneDrive, you can see here the URL onedrive.com is not blocked, but URL onedrive.live.com is configured as warning. So I'll copy this URL, go to my system, my subject, and on the subject I'll type this URL and I will say that it is blocked. So it is not getting blocked, which basically means probably this policy is not configured properly, or this could be synchronization issue also, because initially it says block, then it opens it. So that's okay. So this is how you do the testing. So it is just says warning. Okay, all right. I know why it is working, because what happens when there is any IOC that is configured in a warning mode, you only get the warning once, and if you just proceed further, then it will not warn you ever again, because this is how it is configured. So since when I tested this morning, I actually opened OneDrive and I accepted the risk and I said that I want to proceed. So it will not block OneDrive and it will not warn me again and again. But for all of these activities that I'm doing, you will quickly see incidents getting generated, alerts getting generated. So I'll show you some more. For example, Twitter, I've shown mail.yahoo.com. So I'll go back and I'll say mail.yahoo.com. And you can see it is coming as blocked. So it is actually working. But innocent, when you try to access OneDrive, you will get a warning because you've not accessed it on that system ever before. Okay. So this is how I've tested it on Windows 10. Now I'll switch to a server and you will see whether server has a different experience or it is the same experience on the server. So this is my server operating system. I'll close it and I'll open Edge on the server also. So it's taking time to come up because the server is configured with low configuration to save cost. Okay, my server is up and running. I'll just type those URLs and test whether they are blocked or they are working. Okay, so I'll start with Gmail. And you can see Gmail is coming as blocked. I'll start with yahoomail.com. Yahoo Mail is getting blocked. I'll check if I can open Facebook. No problem, not able to open Facebook. Twitter, not working. I'll see if Instagram works. Blocked. You can see the same behavior. Now let's look for OneDrive. And you can see here, because on this server, I did not do the testing in the morning. So on this server, Innocent, you can notice, on this server, OneDrive is getting blocked. However, since I've configured it in warning mode, the user gets two options. User can click on go back or user can click on allow. If the user clicks on allow, then the OneDrive will be whitelisted for this user. Right? Now, this user will be able to access OneDrive every time this user logs in on this system. So it is not getting whitelisted for the device. It is basically for the user. Okay, now OneDrive will work every time I open it. So if I open OneDrive once again and say onedrive.com, it will not even give me the warning. It will directly open it. See, it says blocked content, but it opens it. So you will still see, I'm saying user will continue to see in the browser that it will say that it's a blocked content, but since user has given consent that user wants to access it, user will always be able to access it. So this is about indicators part, guys. Any question on this indicators part that you see? This is a proactive security approach that I am, that I have deployed in my organization, that I'm actually not allowing my employees to access anything that is prohibited by my infosec policies, or that is not right. Probably social networking sites, employment websites, on website, gaming sites, betting websites, and other types of information that I can block here. So whatever I've configured is exactly working fine. And though it took a couple of hours to get updated, but that's how the behavior is. At the end of the day, it should be working irrespective of the time that it takes. Any question on this behavior, guys? The first part, which is the EDR configuration part.
Raghuveer, how do we audit this if someone just removes some restrictions, so and we just want to see why it got removed and all? Is there any audit capability
See,
here?
nobody can remove these unless you have administrative access to this, right? Only administrators, because I'm the administrator, that's the reason I have access to the screen. If I were an L1, L2, L3 user, I did not have access to this settings portal. This settings will be faded for me. So I cannot come to the screen at all. Only admins can come. And then comes the logging part. So yes, logging part is here, which is the audit part. Under system, you see audit. Here you will see audit logs for all the activities that you have performed. Here you can put the date and time and all the information, and then you will be able to see the audit logs accordingly. So you will be able to see audit. It also goes into the system logs. In fact, this information is also retained with Microsoft. So you can find this information all the time, that who did what kind of activities. But then the question is, why would you have your normal users to retain permissions to perform administrative tasks related to tool? Only there will be one or two people in the team. So if there is anything that goes as unplanned, unexpected, you can always get hold of those two people and say, please tell us what has happened. Did you do it, or did your account get compromised? Because it could be an identity compromise issue also, right?
Right. And then if these audit logs are also being fed into Sentinel, right?
No, this audit log is specific to this portal. I'm saying obviously these audit logs will not be in Sentinel. This is specific to this portal.
Okay.
This is audit of these solutions. This is not an incident and alert that that will get fed into Sentinel. Why would it go to Sentinel?
Yeah, no, if we just want to create some incident, if something is unchecked, being allowed, rather than reactive later on, if proactively we get some incident and then just investigate if this is being done as per the plan or not.
To the best of my knowledge, you don't have this capability. But yes, if there is any service like virtual machine, storage account, virtual network, databases, if their configurations are changed, then you can configure Azure policy in the recording mode, and then using Azure policy, you can generate an incident. Using Azure policy, you can put that into monitor mode, which will generate an alert, or you can also put that into enforce mode, wherein even the administrators will not be allowed to perform any configuration changes or any modifications or deletion of services. So you can do it using Azure policy. But as far as this question is concerned, that can I get the, if somebody makes some configuration changes to Microsoft Cloud App Security, can I have some integration done with Sentinel that will generate an alert or that will block it? Probably not. That capability is not available. Because this is tool specific configuration.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Right? Okay. So now you can see the alert also related to the activity that I've done. So I will just need to refresh the screen. Since this is a trial version, sometimes it takes a couple of minutes to have alerts generated against a violation of a policy. And sometimes it comes in real time. So I did that activity from a Windows 10 machine. I'll go to the alert, the most recent alert, and you will see that it is actually coming, right? So you can see June 12, 3:35, which means, in fact, when I did it from server, it is also coming from the server. So the user was Azure user, because after I did it from the server, So you can see the activities coming, which will show you that what exactly I used it. So what it is doing right now, since this is alert, it will have separate alert for each activity that I've done. But if I go to the incidents, then it will correlate all the alerts into one incident, wherein I will see less incidents. And you can see here, which is multi-stage incidents on multiple endpoints, which basically indicates that there was a violation of custom indicator. And then I can see connection to a custom indicator. And you can see it coming from Windows 2019 and Windows 10 in the last 10-15 minutes only. So if you go to the time here, you can see it started at 3:31. I started with Windows 10, then I did some on Windows 2019 also. So now you can click on any of this incident, and you will get the information. So you will see the information that what has happened. So you can see that the user logged into the incident. The process was initiated, Windows logon on that server. Then user initialized it. User initialized explorer.exe. Then user opened Microsoft Edge. And after opening Microsoft Edge, user basically tried to access some connection to a custom network indicator. And whatever user did, for each you will see the information. So if I click on any of this, it will show me which indicator I was trying to access. So I'll see that information, which is Gmail here. So I was trying to access Gmail. If I click on the other one, then it was yahoomail.com. If I click on other one, then it will show it was facebook.com. Then from the same session, it is basically showing the session. In the same browser session, I tried all of this website. You can see here. Now, since this is incident, it will correlate or combine all the alerts from this user or from this device also. You can see the process. This is the process tree. You can see the alert timeline, and you can see the timeline that this was custom network indicator. It started with Instagram and all that information that you want to see. So once again, as I said, you guys know more than what I could when it comes to day-to-day operational or alert and incident management. So it is the same information that you get to see here. So this basically the same information will get propagated to other systems also. Now, it may not happen in real time, since this was related to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is the native portal of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So this alert and incident is available here. But if I go to Microsoft Sentinel, probably it will take time for this information to propagate into Sentinel, because that will come from the integration. And integration, sometimes it's quick, sometimes it takes time. And since this is a trial environment, I can't even guarantee that how much time it will take, but I can guarantee one thing, that it will come slowly or gradually. So over here, you can see it, multi-stage incidents, but there is no guarantee that it would have the alert. Okay, it is there. Great. You can see last updated time, it's 12/6/24 and 3:44 p.m. And you exactly are at 3:44. So it is actually configured here also. So now I can also visualize this information here. So I can click on view full details, and you will probably see the same information here also. However, I will personally recommend to manage things from Microsoft Defender portal, because there you get more detailed information. Sentinel is more into the log feeding solution. So the way it will show that information, you will probably not like that the UI. So here it shows you the IP address, it shows you the device ID, all the information you will see here. Just click on next, so that it will not show you again, and close. So you can see the information, you can see the timeline like this. You can click on entities, you can see the entities which are involved. These are the entities in terms of this was the file hash of the solution. This is the host, this is the process, this was the URL. So you can probably click on filter here, and you can see all of this together. So you can in one Okay, I'm back, guys. Probably I was cut off for a couple of minutes. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the look and feel would be different. And that's why I will give you this liberty that which portal you like more. Or I would say any alert generated in Sentinel, look into Sentinel because it will give you more information. Any alert generate. So you also get this. See, this is the synchronization or integration with XDR. It says that you can investigate in Microsoft XDR also. So if you click on this, it will directly take you to Microsoft XDR portal, which is security.microsoft.com. And if you have appropriate access, then you will have this alert open in security portal, and probably you will get more friendly user interface, more detailed information related to this alert, or based on your your behavior and your practice. Some people are more proficient with this type of approach. You can see here. So this is the more comprehensive view that you can see here. It shows you everything, that what all systems were involved. I'm saying you see a comprehensive view wherein you see all these systems were involved. The user accounts were involved and what they were accessing, whether it was a URL. This shows URL, so you will see the URLs. You see all the information. So this helps you with correlation perspective also, wherein you can do a correlation and you can share the outcome with the management, or you can take informed decision based on this correlation, that this incident is not isolated to one user or one device. This is actually happening on multiple users with multiple devices. So this will give you some informed decision to probably enhance your security portfolio, or enhance your security strategy, and have more restrictive policies in place, right? So that's what you can do. So this was about the indicators part that I have configured in Microsoft Defender for endpoint. Any questions so far? Then we'll move on to the reactive side of the world also. This was the proactive side, wherein the user was not even allowed to access that specific resource over the internet, or to communicate with that resource which your security team confirms as not required or not allowed by security governance or security policies.
Raghavir, sorry for interrupting. So I have one question. So basically, we have observed in some cases we will block any URL or domain, but while checking that in alert story, we can see connection was success. So at that time, like we were not able to conclude, because when we check now, we can see it is blocked, but we don't know, right, whether user has allowed, because in the Defender the connection status is showing as connection success. So any suggestion on this?
No, so it will only say connection successful when it was configured in warning mode. If it was configured in block execution mode, the user will not be able to access that URL. However, see, understand, it is the solution in the backend. So what is happening? Your device has an agent which is getting fed from its master with respect to any policy changes. What if that agent is not working? What if the corresponding service that is responsible for that agent is not working? In that case, that behavior will not exhibit on the system. So you will always find deviations from behavior in security, wherein certain security expectations were violated or did not occur as expected on certain devices. And for that, you will always have incidents and alert findings. And with those findings, you can identify that why it did not happen. Probably the behavior would be different from one browser to another. Probably the behavior will be different for one user to another. There could be n number of deviations, and that is what operation is all about. Because operation is not one-time effort. You work in the same team with for the same customer, for the same set of devices every day, and you keep on optimizing your operational aspect, so that the more leakage you find, the more you will be able to fill that gap, and it's a continuous process that you keep on doing. I have myself experienced a number of times when certain policies are violated on certain systems, and when I investigate, I find that it happened because the policy engine or the agent that was responsible for enforcement, that agent was not working properly. And for that, you have an optimization phase wherein the admin will continue to ensure that things are configured as expected, right? So this is part and parcel of the game. There is no 100% security. It is not. There is no 100% foolproof security. It is always an opportunity of improvement that will always be there with all the people in the team. So admin will have an opportunity for improvement, and operations team, for example, level 1, level 2, level 3 engineers, they will also have an opportunity for for improvement in their processes and in their approaches and behavior. Okay. Okay. Did you hear me, guys?
Yes,
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 yes.
we hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So I'm saying, so this is how you can, so what I'm trying to say, that Microsoft Defender portal would be more appropriate because it has more capabilities. It has more ways of demonstrating or presenting that information in multiple visualization mode that helps you to take informed decision. And it also has, the capability to manage the entire ITSM part here. You can also have automations in place. So there are multiple capabilities which are available. So that is about Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, something that I want you to configure also, something that we will configure today, and then we will leave this configuration up and running. And tomorrow we will test it, and I hope it will work with most of the participants. Even if it doesn't work as expected, do not feel that you did something wrong. Just blame it to the trial version, blame it to the synchronization, and make peace with yourself. I'm giving you a disclaimer right now because it may happen with some of the participants that even if they had followed the same process, it may not work. So make peace with yourself and do not blame yourself for any misconfiguration. Okay, let's move on. So this was on the Defender for Endpoint. Let's look at the Microsoft Sentinel part. So when it comes to Microsoft Sentinel, give me a moment. All right, let's move on. So now we'll look into the Sentinel part and we will see what we can do. So I'll show you the use cases, the disabled account use case, as well as the brute force attack one. And then I will share a documentation, a repository that I created over the last couple of years while working with Sentinel or while working with SIEM and SOAR solutions, that what additional use cases can be deployed from from security monitoring perspective or from SIEM and SOAR capability perspective. So first of all, I'll show you that I've configured this part. Now I want you to remain attentive, understand, see it carefully. Do not give benefit of doubt to recording that it is getting recorded. I can always be distracted by my official meetings with my personal phone calls and whatnot. Do not take it for granted. Understand it, because if you have any doubt and if you watch this in session recording, you will not have access to me to clarify that doubt. Today is the opportunity. Take full advantage of it. So I'll navigate to Sentinel now. So first I'll show you the configuration. In Sentinel, we have a service that is known as analytics. Analytics is the service where you basically configure the use cases that you want Sentinel to monitor, the use cases or security configurations that you would like to be made aware of by Sentinel. So over here, I've configured these three use cases you can see here. The first use case that I've configured is attempts to sign in to disable accounts. So with this use case in place, and you all will configure it today. So I'm showing you the configuration. So I've configured this use case. I've considered this as a medium severity, and this is part of Mitre attack framework. The logic that I put here is with this use case is that this is the query. So in Sentinel, we use KQL, Custo query language. With that query, we basically analyze the logs. So we run that query in the logs, and whenever we find a similarities or whenever we find an output, that output generates the incidents. So this is the query that I will run. Now I have intentionally given the threshold as 1, which basically means even if once there is an attempt, even if it happens once in a while, only once, if there is any attempt wherein somebody tries to log into a disabled account, then it will generate an incident. Now, where this information is coming from? This information comes from Microsoft Entra ID, because that account is configured in Microsoft Entra ID, right? Or this information comes from on-premises Active Directory. So since on-premises Active Directory and Entra ID are configured in the backend on the same logic, there is an event ID. So what this is basically looking for, it says that whenever you find an event ID that matches this string, which is 50057, that basically denotes to user account is disabled, please capture all of this information. Capture when it started, when it ended, what was the application count, user principal name, IP address. Capture all of this information and generate an attack. And I want to put that information into entity mapping like this. Capture the full name that you will get from user principal name. So this is how you are mapping the information with how you put it in Azure. And then you will schedule that how frequently this query should run. So you're saying that run every 50 minutes and look data for the last 1 day. But since I've done this intentionally so that I can show you some incidents in the portal, but typically your query scheduling will have the same time here. Because see, if the query runs every 15 minutes and looks data for the last 1 day, and if there was a match, basically in the last 1 day, some disabled account was signed in, then what will happen every time it will run, it will generate an incident. So that is why your query should run every 15 minutes and it should only look for last 15 minutes of data so that it does not generate duplicate incidents, right? So let it be like this. Then it says, then when you should generate the alert, when the threshold is more than 0, which means even if you find one incident of it, generate an alert. And what you need to do, group all events into a single alert. Then it will create incidents. Now, when it should create incidents, whenever there are an alert, create incidents. So incidents I have enabled, so it will generate incidents. Then automation. Do I want to put any automation? Something that I have not configured around, but I show you the automation also. I will configure it, test it, and show you. So here the automation will be. And then in the end, you will say review plus create. So when you hit review plus create, any changes that you have made to the query will be updated, or it will just be like that. So this is one query that I put. Similarly, I put another query, which is Azure portal brute force attack. Let me show you that query also. So this is another query, which is Azure portal brute force attack, wherein I am configuring the rule. It's a high severity alert. And then the rule logic is the logic that I'm putting for brute force attack. My logic is that whenever there is an event ID that matches these strings, which basically, so this string is basically equivalent to unauthorized access or failed logon credentials. So what logic I am putting here, this is a custom alert that I've created. The logic that I'm putting here is this. I'm saying that whenever the IP address is more than 1 and location is more than 1, then you consider this as a brute force attack. Because for brute force attack to happen, these days typically brute force attack are triggered from bots, and bots are configured across multiple locations. So if I find any login attempt to my Azure portal which is failed and which get triggered from more than one IP, more than one location, then I will consider it as a brute force attack. But there could be n number of logic for brute force attack. The other logic could be that I will only consider it a brute force attack when it failed multiple times and then it got successful in the end. If it only failed, then I will not consider it an attack. I would rather consider this as my security, that it is so strong that nobody is able to break into my system. So there are multiple logics. So the logic that I'm taking is that if there is any attempt to log into my Azure portal with failed credentials, and if that attempt matches this criteria, which is the IP has to be more than one and the location has to be more than one, generate a brute force attack incident. So I'm running this query. So this is another logic that I've put here, and I will see the information here. So this is the information this is the logic that I put. Rest of the information is same that you see here. Since there has been some incidents already got generated out of this configuration, so you will also see them into the portal. But I will generate it from scratch so that you will see that these are actually working. So let's start with the disabled user account part. So we want to understand the disabled user first. So let's go ahead and disable a user in Entra ID. So I'll go to users. Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say level 1 user. Let's click on this user and see whether this user is enabled or disabled. You can see this user is enabled as we speak. I will disable this user. I will assume that this person has left the organization. I'll disable it and I'll save it. This is Friday EOD. I've disabled the account. Now this person cannot log in because the account is disabled. So this is the admin has done. Now let's simulate the attack. Let's try to log in with this person. So I'll copy the UPN of this person. I'll open a browser. So I'll open another browser on my system, which is Firefox. Give me a moment. Firefox is trying to update over here. So if Firefox opened, I'll open portal.azure.com because I'm triggering the brute force attack on Azure portal with a disabled account. And over here, I'll type the UPN of the user which is disabled, level 1. Next, I will type the password. So I'll type the password. Now this is incorrect password that I'm typing. So it will say that the password is incorrect. Say user ID or password is incorrect because I was typing the incorrect password. But if I type the correct password, now I type the correct password and it enter, it will say that the account is disabled. No, it did not take the correct password. Now this is the correct password. Now see what it will say. It will say that your account has been locked, contact your person. So it will never say that the account is disabled because that's not how browser shares the information. It will always say that your account is locked. This is how browser presents the information. So it says account is locked and there has been one attempt, one disable attempt. I'll probably type it again. And another attempt that I've did. So I've just did one attempt or two attempt. How does it make any difference? The attempt threshold was set to 1. Even if it happens 1, the alert will get generated. So I've just violated that rule. Now simultaneously I will violate another rule. I will also perform a brute force attack on Azure portal. So for that I will need to perform that attack from more than one IP, right, and more than one location. So what I will do, from this only I will perform the attack, from this user only. Or no, this user I cannot perform the attack because this user is blocked. So I will need to pick up another user. So I'll go to the Entra ID once again, and I'll pick up another user to perform this attack. so that you will also see two different incidents with two different users involved. So I'll go to users and I'll pick up level 3 user, let's say. So now I'll perform the brute force attack from level 3 user. So I'll copy the user principal name of level 3 user, go to the same browser, click on portal.azure.com once again. Type the level 3 users UPN and then password, I have it. Now you don't need to type the actual password, because if you type the right password, user will log in because it's a legitimate user. So I will intentionally type any string from my keyboard, hit enter, and it will say username or password is incorrect. Now I will type it once again. If I type it multiple times, it will just count it as one incident because you are in the same session. It doesn't consider this as another incident. So if I keep typing it, it will still create one incident only. So if I want Sentinel to show that how many attempts were there, I will need to open the URL once again, then only it will show the attempts. So I'll type once again and I'll copy the UPN for the user. I'll type a random password from my keyboard. And then this is the second attempt that I did. So I attempted this from India because this is the local browser on my, on my laptop. Now I'll go to one of the virtual machine. Inside one of the virtual machine and exhibit this behavior from this virtual machine also. That will satisfy the query. My query is more than one IP, more than one location. So now this is another IP because this is a virtual machine in US and the location is also different. So over here, I'll open Azure portal. And I will click on use another user. I will need to use the same user if I want it to be considered as a brute force attack. So I'll copy the user UPN and type the UPN here, hit next. And then once again, I'll type any random password, the keyboard. And it says it is incorrect. I'll go back and then click on once again, type the same UPN, next, and then type a random password. Okay, so this is done. I've just simulated the attack wherein I tried to log in from a disabled account, and then I have also simulated an attack which qualifies for brute force attack. Now understand the flow of this information, that how this will get triggered. So what will happen here, that all of this activities, all of these sign-in attempts that I did, sign-in attempts, whether they are successful or whether they are failed, these sign-in attempts are logged into, where they are logged in, guys, these sign-in attempts. Guys, where are they logged?
One is from your machine from East US and other one from the machine which is hosted.
Where exactly are they getting logged? Where this attempt information is getting stored?
Sign-in logs.
Where?
Sign-in logs.
Sign-in logs, but where? Where sign-in logs? Which service of sign-in logs?
Inside
Where exactly? In
Enter
Defender,
ID,
in virtual
enter ID.
machine,
login.
in SQL Server, in Microsoft Defender for Identity. Where exactly?
Microsoft Defender for Identity, right?
Great. These are getting stored in Microsoft Entra ID. Microsoft Entra ID is the authentication and authorization engine for Microsoft Azure and other services. So when the user is trying to log in to Azure portal, where exactly the credentials are sent, the credentials are sent to Microsoft Entra ID, who says whether the credentials are correct. If they are correct, then the authorization happens, user gets access. based on the RBAC configured. If the credentials are incorrect, user is denied access. So this goes into Microsoft Entra ID, right? Now from Microsoft Entra ID, so you know that we have a connector configured in Sentinel, which is Microsoft Entra ID connector, right? So from that connector, the information goes into Sentinel. And once that information goes into Sentinel, Sentinel is connected to a log analytics workspace. So this information is getting stored into the log analytics workspace, which Sentinel is reading. And in the log analytics workspace, this information will be stored as a log. And then there is an analytics query. So there is an analytics query, which I just showed you. That query is configured to run every 5 minutes. So the query will run every 5 minutes, and that query will basically look into the logs. So query will run that, so that analytics rule will run the query, that KQL query into the logs, and it will find matches. It will find that yes, this happened. And as soon as it finds the matches, which means it is more than 0, it will generate an incident. That's the logic, that's the flow of information, right? So that's exactly what will happen. So from these logs, the incident will be generated into Sentinel portal. Incident into Sentinel portal. Are you guys with me on this flow of flow of information? So this will help you to troubleshoot when things do not work as expected. When you have configured the rule, but they are not returning incidents, or when you are not getting appropriate number of incidents that you should get. This is what you will do. So this is how the process will follow. Now let's understand this process. So as an admin, the first thing that I want to do is go to Microsoft Entra ID and see whether I have logs in Microsoft Entra ID for this event. Guys, are you with me?
Yes, Raghuveer.
Yes, Raghu.
Okay, so we'll go to Entra ID and we'll go to sign in logs of Entra ID. Over here, the user is a level 3 and level 2 user, right? Level 1 and level 3 user. So can you see the logs in sign in? Sign in logs here. This is 414. You see the sign in logs here. Over here, you see the logs here, and it clearly says it's a failure. There's a failure log, and then you also have log from level 3 user. And if you look carefully, it also shows you the location. So level 1 user only did the login from Telangana, Chenna Reddy, Nagarjuna, this place, and this is the place, and this cannot be the accurate location because it all depends on the internet service provider where I'm getting the internet connection on this system from. But you can see that it's almost the same location. So Chenna Reddy Nagar and Nagarjuna Hills, that this information is happening. Then level 3 user who is performing a brute force attack, level 3 user is using this location, which is Telangana. And then level 3 user also used a system from San Jose, California, US, right? Because the system was configured in West US. So which means there is a log in, the sign in log is here. Now let's go back to the same. So log is here, then this log will go through Microsoft connector to log analytics workspace. So if I go to log analytics workspace, I will find this log there also. This is the challenge with Teams. I can't get rid of this. Okay, I'll go like this. All right. So now I'll go to log analytics workspace. Log analytics workspace, which is connected to Sentinel. So I'll go to the workspace. This is the workspace. I'll go inside the logs here, and I need to put the same query here. The query which is triggering this, the query that is responsible for triggering the alert, right? So I need to run the query here. So I'll open another window where I will need query also. Give me a moment, guys. My system is almost gone blank. Okay, it came back. I'll open the portal, or probably I'll duplicate the portal here. Okay, so it's opening up. So my system is running low on memory, which is basically expecting me to reboot. So once this is done, we'll take a break wherein I will reboot my system. So I'll directly go to analytics. This got closed. Okay. So the entire Chrome got closed actually. I will need to start Chrome once again. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the reason why this is happening. This is running low on space. So let me open Chrome once again. Let me open the portal. Stay with me. All right, so I'm logging into the system once again. I'll duplicate the tab. So I'll navigate to the workspace. And over here, I'll navigate to so I'll directly navigate to the analytics rule where the query is. So you already have got the incident, but that's okay. We'll go to the query, edit. So we've validated the first thing, which is that we've got the sign-in logs into Microsoft Entra ID, which is pointing towards some information. But those sign-in logs are of no use because they don't have a logic. Logic is with Sentinel. So we'll capture the query and we will run that query. So I'll copy the query from here. Then I'll go to Log Analytics workspace and run that query in the Log Analytics workspace. When I run that query in the Log Analytics workspace, and if I get the results, then this gives me the confidence that the connection is working perfect. The logs are getting ingested into Log Analytics workspace. So I run the query here now. This is the query. So I'll run the query here and I'll see if I'm getting some results. Great. Query is returning results. And this is the user level 3 that was triggering the brute force attack. So query is returning results, and it is clearly telling me that the attempt is happening from 2 IPs. One IP is in location US, the other IP location is in India, right? So we get this information, which basically means that this is unsafe, which basically means that my workflow is working. Now I'll go to Sentinel. Now inside Sentinel, I will see this incident getting triggered based on the schedule of the query. So depending on the schedule that I've run, the incident will get triggered. Now, if I go to the analytics rule, the relevant analytics rule in Sentinel, this is the analytics rule. Okay. The system is taking my patience. So this is the analytics rule here, Azure portal brute force attack. I'll select the rule. I'll select the rule, click on edit, and I'll see the frequency of this rule because logs are coming. This is what reactive is all about, that the solution will work based on the logs. So logs are here. Now I'll move further and I'll see the timing. The schedule of the solution is that it runs every 5 minutes, and 5 minutes has gone by. When I triggered the attack, 5 minutes period has gone by, which means by now the incident has already been generated into Sentinel. So now I'll go to Sentinel. Now I'll go to the Sentinel incidents view, and you will see that I will be able to see the incidents. I will be able to see this incident and the other also, which is the disabled account, because that was configured to run every 15 minutes, and that was configured to look for last 1 day of data. And I'm sure 15 minutes have also gone by when I attempted that activity for the first time. I'm just trying to release some memory by just closing some additional softwares and applications which are running on my screen. Logged into the meeting. So why don't you present your screen and Shona? Meeting notes, you present your screen. I'll stop sharing. So Dave will present his screen and I'll just explain it. You present your screen, log into Sentinel with any user. You just present your screen, that's it. Rest I will explain. Okay, so Dave is presenting the screen, guys. I hope it is visible to everyone. Is the screen visible to
Yes, sir,
everyone?
yeah.
Okay.
It's visible. Yes.
So this is where I'll show you. So navigate to incidents in Microsoft Sentinel. Yep. Over here, you will all see. So you will see an incident that says attempts to sign in to a disabled account. The first one on the top. No, just creation time. Filter it by creation time. No. Close that. Yep. Click on creation time over here. Creation time. So that you filter it by creation time. Click it on once again. Okay. Now this is the incident. Now click on this one. Now the challenge with Sentinel. See why this is happening like that, because the incidents are coming in other solutions also. So it is getting synchronized in all the solutions. That's the reason you don't see that incident. So you can directly click on, you can directly search for incident, which is attempt to disable. Just type attempt in the search ID. Yep. That's it. Attempt. Okay. Over here, you see this incident. Click on this. And here you will see this incident, and you will see the Devraj, the level 1 user that we used, right? And it says attempts to sign in to disable accounts. And you remember we actually disabled level 1 user. So here you see that incidents. Why it says creation time? Because this incident was first created on this date, which is yesterday. And then the last updated time is today's time. You can check it's 12th of June 4:24, which is just 4 minutes ago. This incident came. Right, so a total of 98 alerts got generated related to this, and out of 98 alerts, this is the incident. So what I've done in my configuration, I've done then do not create multiple incidents for the same alerts. If the alert is same, then combine them all into one incident. So over here I can see, and if I click on view full details, I will see the incident details also, and I will see all the incidents related to it. So this is related to attempt. You can see that it all started at that time. Yeah. Okay. Now scroll it down. It starts with the time filter overview. You can just scroll it. This started from yesterday. Just scroll it to the end, and you will see today's incident, the most recent one. Okay. No problem. So why it says that what it is doing basically. This level 1 user was involved into before as well. So you can click on the level 1 user, and then you will see incidents related to this. Yeah. This level 1. Yep. And now you will see the incident. So you can see this incident was related to level 1 user, and those were the 2 IPs where this incident got done. In fact, I triggered this incident with PIM approver also yesterday. I disabled PIM approver, and this incident got triggered from PIM approver also. If you want, you can just duplicate the tab, go to Microsoft Entra ID, and you will notice that PIM approver account is also disabled as we speak. Yeah. So you guys will see that the PIM approver account is disabled. Just go to Entra ID. Okay, click user, and now you will notice that PIM approver account is also disabled. Is everyone with me on this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that was the first simulation that we did. The other simulation is on brute force attack on Azure portal. So which user was involved in brute force attack? Level 3, right? Let's go back to the portal, Sentinel portal, and let's search for brute force attack.
Raghuveer, just a question.
Yeah.
If the same user attempts again, it will be a second incident for him, right?
No. It will continue to remain the same incident, but there will be an additional alert will be added. So my configuration is to not generate a separate incident for each alert. To reduce the incident volume, I am combining all.
It's visible.
Okay. So demo of Microsoft security products, which includes MDE, Microsoft Sentinel, MDC, MCAS, NDI, and XDR. This is what we did actually. And now you will configure it. So you will see where exactly these products are collaborating and how they are collaborating in this. Okay, let's get started with building the lab. So alert, security, use case, configuration using Microsoft Defender XDR solution. So that's what we are going to do. Now, the first thing that we need to do is to ensure. So this is what we are going to do. Prerequisite. Use cases is already written there in the image. I'll also write them down here. But the first thing that you need to do is to manage prerequisites. So what is my prerequisite? The first prerequisite is ensure that onboarded endpoints. Endpoints are my virtual machines. Ensure that onboarded endpoints are visible under Microsoft Defender portal and showing as managed by Microsoft Defender. That's the first thing that you need to ensure. Second, ensure that onboarded endpoints, which is your virtual machines, are visible under Microsoft Intune portal. That's the second thing that you need to do. Then ensure that network protection is enabled in block mode on the endpoints. This is your prerequisite to configure IOCs. Prerequisites for indicators of compromise. Now, these prerequisites, I'm saying this was not a prerequisite in April. The last training that I delivered on these technologies was in April, which is almost 2 months ago. At that point in time, this was not a prerequisite, but I noticed that this is a prerequisite today, and this is a bit complex to configure. So I have actually identified last night the easiest way to configure it that we will see today. So let's get started. Now, since I have everything configured in my lab environment, I have just shown you the demo. Obviously, I cannot use it. So I need one volunteer who will share the screen, and I will guide you how to configure all of it and how to meet this prerequisite. Because once these prerequisites are met, then you will use or leverage MCAS to configure indicators in MDE and apply policy to endpoints. This is what we need to do. This is the objective for today. And this will take another 2 hours for sure. All right, so let's do this activity. I need a volunteer who can share the screen.
share my screen, Raghav.
Sure.
First thing, I am not saying my devices are managed by MDE in Defender portal. All are onboarded
Okay.
and active
Yep.
as well.
You
but
are, I can hear you. All right. Now, let's look at the reason they are not coming is onboarded. So I can see them, I'm saying they are coming as onboarded, but they are not managed by MDE. If they're not coming as managed by MDE, then there are two reasons for it. First, the machines was shut down for most of the time, and hence they could not be synchronized well with this portal. Second, you've not configured MDE settings correctly, because of which this behavior is coming. So let's check that part. But it has now. Let's open Intune also. Intune portal on the same browser tab. You need to open it.
yeah, I already opened it, but due to the sharing option, I am unable to switch the device. Also, I'm not seeing any devices.
Right. So if you're not able to see any devices, obviously you cannot configure MDE policies. They will not work. Why? Because Microsoft Defender for Endpoint policy will only work on devices which are managed by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Since your devices are not managed by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, you cannot, you can always apply policies, but they will not affect your devices, affect your endpoints. Your devices has to be onboarded into Defender for, into Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So obviously we cannot continue with your lab environment. Do I have any participant? But I can quickly check why it is not happening. Why don't you go to device? Why don't you go to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint portal? Okay, go to settings. Now this is for the participants who have the similar behavior in their lab environment. So while I'm explaining it to Sai, I would expect others to also see if they have similar behavior. Even if they don't have similar behavior, they will still listen to me so that they will understand that if something similar happens, then what could be the root cause of it. Go to endpoints. Then go to advanced features. Yep, over here. You need to be here, over here only. And I want to see whether you have enabled it. Just go to the top, start from the top.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
the first one.
This one is okay. This is on, which is okay. This is on.
Is on till everything is on until the
Great.
share
We're good.
endpoint.
Good. Let's go to the middle screen, the middle vertical, and scroll it down. Yep. Scroll the middle one down. Directly come down. Configuration management, enforcement scope. Come to enforcement scope. Scroll it down.
I turned it on.
Scroll it down.
And
This is all enabled.
the devices.
Yeah, that's okay. Scroll it down. Okay, this is good. So this part is okay. All right. So which means from Microsoft Defender endpoint configuration is done, which is good. Now go to Intune permissions. Let me see whether Defender and Intune are talking to each other. Okay. Go to Microsoft Intune portal.
Raghu.
One by one. Go to Intune portal.
Yeah.
On the Intune portal, go to endpoint security.
Okay.
And this is the challenge. Defender for endpoint connector status, Defender for endpoint connector available, but you have not enabled the connector. See, click on navigate here.
I landed in this page.
Yeah, okay, now not here. Go back to that settings once again. There was an Intune connector. Why it is not showing is navigate here to enable Defender for endpoint connector. Windows Defender. So that connector is not coming as enabled actually.
No, there is an
Scroll
option
it down.
called endpoint for Defender setup has to be enabled. You scroll down. If you scroll down, same page at the bottom, because I had the same problem in my environment. And after
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to that part step by step. Yeah, over here. Yeah, setup this part. Yeah. This is what needs to configure. From this, the MDE portal will be, so this is where you need to do. Yeah, this turn it on. Just go on the top first. Go on the top.
Okay.
No, go on the top. Okay. See, it says last synchronized connection status available, but it's not connected right now. No, it's not connected. It says available only. It will turn to connected, turn to green. So it says allow Microsoft Defender for endpoint, Microsoft Defender to enforce endpoint security configuration, which is okay. Yep. Come down and Android leave it. Windows Defender. The third one need to turn on. The third one, yeah, this one. Come down. App protection is okay. We don't need Android. Number of days parameters responsive. That's it. Save it. So this setting was missing actually. But this setting, now you can see the connector status is enabled. So now what will happen? Anything that you have in Defender for endpoint will automatically come here in this portal. It will synchronize with Intune. But that is not the challenge. The challenge is that the endpoints are not still synchronized with Defender for endpoint itself. Right? So just go back to the settings page once again. I want to just check one thing.
Is the settings page and I am in
enforcement scope is okay. Advanced feature. Go to advanced features. Yeah. Just give me 1 minute. Now, I want to check one feature which is enabled or not. Okay, scroll it down. No, not that fast. I couldn't even figure out anything.
Okay. Everything is turned on, I think.
Enable ADR is block mode, which is okay. Automatically allow or block file, which is okay. This is for entire malware. This is okay.
Protection duplicate.
Yeah, that's okay.
Custom network
indicators is on. Tamper protection, which is okay.
Show users as well.
Oh, that's okay. Microsoft Defender Cloud Op is okay.
Then filtering and audit
device discovery. Yeah, this one should be turned on. Device discovery. Yeah, okay. Which is okay. No, don't. Why don't you don't turn it on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Turn it down.
All streamline is
Great. So settings are good. It is nothing but synchronization. As I said in the very beginning, gave you a disclaimer that if it doesn't work and my Microsoft Intune connection is on, which is good. So it is all about synchronization. Now that you have enabled this setting, please make sure that all your systems are on. Let's just keep them on for some time and you will see them getting featured, getting reflected in devices. Click on devices.
I turned the all my VMs at 12:30 p.m. itself, before 1.5 hours before the session.
That is okay, but see, as I said, for me it took the overnight. It took only 10 to 12 hours to have my VMs added here.
Okay.
In fact, this happened with me also. Unless it says managed by MDE, there is another way of doing it, but that is not. Okay, let's one person please share the screen. I'll share the other way of fixing it. There's a way to expedite this process. Let's try that way. If you don't want
I will
Microsoft,
share my screen.
Yeah. If you don't want Microsoft to do it, then you can wait. But only only log into that VM which is still not onboarded, not the VM which is already showing as onboarded.
Okay. I have only one machine that is still showing as unknown. So
rest of them are showing as onboarded. Okay, log into this machine.
Yeah, ADVM. As I already logged in. This is that machine.
This is the ADVM, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now
3117 is one.
Okay. Yep. Great. Now on this VM, click on settings. I'm at the bottom where you see Windows logo key. Is everyone able to see sign screen, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Click on now type settings. You probably will not see that option. Okay. Then click on accounts.
Okay.
Yeah, accounts. Go to sign in options. Okay, it's already synchronized, guys. This is already synchronized. It says some settings are hidden and or managed by your organization. It directly means that this VM is also synchronized. It is just a matter of a couple of minutes and then you will start to see it MD managed. But imagine if this would not be there, then you would get an option which would say, please add work or school account. And when it says add work or school account, then you will click on that option. It will ask you to sign in. That is where you will use an account which has an administrative privilege on Microsoft Defender for endpoint, probably your XDR account, the one that you are using. The moment you sign in with that account, it will automatically tell Microsoft Defender for endpoint or Microsoft XDR that there is an endpoint which is waiting to get onboarded and your VM will get onboarded quickly. That's another way of doing it. But then, but then why Microsoft asks you not to do it? Because then you are unnecessarily putting your admin credentials on the VM, because whenever you sign into a VM to a Windows server, in the Windows server logs, that credential goes, the hash of that credential goes. So what Microsoft did, Microsoft basically stopped recommending that process, and Microsoft made it visible on their portal that after you onboard a VM, it will take a couple of hours, probably up to 2 hours, to have them reflected into MDR. So what Microsoft says that you onboard them, wait, and why it took a lot of time in our case, because what we were doing, we were shutting down our VMs and we are also using a trial. So trial makes some difference. And then also typically the endpoint should not be shut down. But what are we doing? We are shutting them down. So this basically breaks the communication, right? So this VM is already managed. Now you cannot sign in here, and probably in next couple of minutes you will start to see this VM also is managed.
Okay.
It's already managed. But if there is any participant who is not able to see this, who is not seeing this, this VM is managed by your organization, then that participant can share the screen. I'll show you that where exactly you need to put the credentials. Do I have any participant who does not have that?
Raghu, actually, I have onboarded Defender on only one machine yesterday. Because of my network fluctuating, I didn't do on other machines. But nothing is showing as in managed by. I have onboarded one actually. I'll share the screen once.
Okay.
Okay. When sharing the screen with you only, I have onboarded yesterday.
Which
one
VM?
machine. But all are showing as unknown. I forgot.
It says managed by unknown, right?
Yeah.
Which means they are not showing.
Yes.
Now log into any of the VM. None of the VM is onboarded. And are you sure that you configured all the settings? The one that
Yes,
I
yes.
was just going through?
Yeah.
The enforcement scope. So you need to do enforcement scope, advanced settings, and then in Microsoft Intune portal, you need to set up Defender for endpoint configuration.
Yeah, it's done already and everything.
That's okay. What I want you to do, just log into any of the VM. Log into any of the VM.
Even I have deleted one VM because when I created it, it goes normal. After that, when I logged in yesterday, it's showing as fully Chinese language. I couldn't able to
That's strange.
change that. That's why
That's strange. I'm saying the
it
VM
is.
should not change the language, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm not able to see that options also. I tried actually for 1 hour to change the
Uh-huh.
language settings, but I can't able to understand that languages. So
So that I
I
can't
did.
also answer. I will say, how come? Because by
I don't.
default, when you deploy VMs in United
Yeah.
States, they come pre-configured with English United States as language.
Yes.
So not sure. Probably something got happened in the backend.
Yes.
If
Yes.
this would have been a production server, you
Yeah.
would qualify for a for a reimbursement from Microsoft. Okay, that was strange.
Yeah. Fully Chinese. But somehow I know that settings, system settings. So blindly I searched and I changed it to English. But with English, it's also showing Chinese. Some of the
Ah,
settings.
that was
Okay.
bad.
Okay. I logged in for AD server.
Okay, give me a moment. So every time I put a documentation for a Microsoft product, uh, which contains screenshots, which contains all the I'm saying all the step-by-step instruction, within a couple of months or probably within a month, that documents becomes obsolete because
It's,
Microsoft is too quick when it
yes.
comes
Yes.
to changing the security configuration, adding new functionalities, deprecating existing, that any document that I create doesn't remain up to date. And that discourages me a lot in putting together documents. Anyways,
Actually,
all
I
right,
thought to
now go
ask
to
yesterday regarding that, but I thought I done some mistake in the configuration. I got to know that one is not my mistake.
yeah, absolutely. Let's go to so this is your domain controller, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, go to settings,
Okay.
your accounts, sign in options. Okay, this is domain controller. Can we log into any other VM? Because domain controller, since this VM is onboarded into Defender, it will not
Yeah.
allow us to do that. Log into any other VM except this
Okay.
domain controller. No, don't take the remote from here, otherwise, okay, you're logging off. That's okay. Log into any other VM.
But in some VMs, I cannot able to download the Chrome also. I don't know. Uh, it's not downloading the Chrome EXE file. You said that to install some applications to check the vulnerabilities and all. I installed in some of the application VLC or some see here. Here I installed Google Chrome. In some other VMs, I try to install Chrome, but Chrome is not installed. It's not allow me to install that Chrome.
I would say if that VM was part of my security portal, then it would have been an expected behavior because I have an indicator configured not to allow Chrome as an application on my endpoints. I have actually
Okay.
restricted Chrome. But since you have not configured it, then you should be able to do that. Now go to security. Settings, sorry,
security.
settings, not security, settings. Yeah. Go to your accounts. Sign in options, sign in options. Okay. Go to access work or school. Access work or school. Yep, this is where. Now see, this VM, I don't know whether this is onboarded in Microsoft Defender for OnPoint or not, but as we speak, this VM is not onboarded. Probably, so you can manually enforce the onboarding. How? Click on connect. Is everyone able to see this option? First of all, stop there. Is everyone able to see this option?
Yeah, Radu, can you repeat again?
What did you say? Can I what?
Could you please repeat?
So what I'm trying to say that when you onboard a device into Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, the device shows as onboarded. However, it doesn't show as managed by MDE. You cannot really proceed further. The device has to be shown as managed by NDE. Then only you can apply policies, right? So what if the device is not showing as MDE, managed by MDE, but the device is showing as onboarded into the portal? So there are two options. Either you wait and let the synchronization happen all by itself, which is a matter of from a couple of minutes to a couple of hours. That's one thing. And which you have validated yourself that today, when your VMs are on at 1 o'clock today, by 5 o'clock in next 4 to 5 hours, within 4 to 5 hours, they started to come as managed by MDE. That's what you've seen. But what if it doesn't come as managed by MDE even after 5-6 hours? Then what you do? Two options. Either you wait, or second, you manually enforce the VM to be reflected under MDE, shown as managed by MDE. And the way to do it is just log into that VM, go to the settings, go to sign in options, and from there will be an option to sign in. Select work or school account, and over here you need to type your Microsoft Defender for Endpoint administration email address. So with whatever email address or whatever username you are managing Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, just type that credentials here and your VM will quickly be reflecting into the portal.
1 second.
So this is a manual way of doing it, which Microsoft doesn't recommend. See, this is what he's doing. Now it will quickly register this device with your company. With your company basically means with Microsoft Security Portal, and it will apply any policy that you've configured in the portal. Done. You're all set, done.
Is that like before we are doing workplace join? Is that like that method?
No, this is just a manual method of enforcing endpoints to start reflecting as managed by MDE. If they do not reflect as managed by MDE in couple of hours right after onboarding. So the question is whether this endpoint was onboarded into the portal or not. That's what the question. Did you onboard this endpoint?
I forgot which system I onboarded.
See, that's the another challenge, Srinath. If you forgot, then, but that's okay. I can still find out whether this system was onboarded or not. Go to services.msc on that system. See, if that system was not onboarded, it will not be shown on the devices. Forget about it. But there is another way of checking it, whether the system was onboarded or not. Just go to services.msc. and just go to Microsoft Defender. Scroll it down, Microsoft Defender antivirus, that service. There are two services, Defender antivirus and go to Defender antivirus service. If you are able to stop and start this service, it means that this system was not onboarded. The onboarding script did not run on the system. But if you are not able to stop and start the service, which means the system was actually onboarded into Defender. The script was ran onto the system, and by virtue of that script, now this system is managed by Defender for endpoint, right? This is how you check it actually. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes.
Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, I have copied yesterday. This is only.
See, I did not even ask you to show me. I just knew by looking at the service behavior, because if the endpoint is managed by Defender for endpoint, even the local admin user would not have access to manipulate, to start, stop, or restart the service. Okay, so you've just done this activity. Now go to the portal. Go to security portal, Defender portal, and go to devices, assets. I'm saying, yep, assets and then devices. Refresh your screen, and you will start to see your device onboarded here. Probably in some time. Let it refresh and look for that device only. Which device was it?
A Windows VM mode.
No, all of them are Windows, but which was it? 10, 12, 20, which VM was it?
Windows 2K10.
Windows 2K10. Okay.
Yeah.
Scroll it to the right.
This one.
This VM, scroll it to the right. Okay. It still says unknown. That's okay. It will come in. It will come in some time. I'm saying it may take a couple of minutes, but it will be quicker now, right? Now the other thing that you can do, just go to that VM.
Yeah.
Just select that VM. No. I'm saying from the portal, you select the VM. From the portal, Defender portal, portal, not Azure portal. Go back to the security portal once again and select that VM. Yep. Scroll it to the right. After selecting click on the VM name actually. Yep. Click on the VM name. Great. Click on the timelines.
We get login details.
So you see the login details. So the data is coming from the VM.
Yes.
Right. Now, do you see those three dots after discovered vulnerabilities? Click on those three dots after discovered vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Click on security policies. See, we cannot show this device applied security policy. It is not managed by a known authority. Okay, so this is still not managed. Right where it says view in map, there are three dots. Click on those three dots. Okay, now just give me 1 minute. There is an option that says run antivirus scan. Run the scan. Quick scan. Quick scan.
Okay.
And just put anything in the comment. Run. Okay. So it is not connected yet. It says the device must be connected to the networks. It will come connected in some time.
Yeah.
Right now you can see the Defender scan was initiated, but it will remain pending. So you need to wait for a couple of minutes. After you onboard it manually, it starts to reflect.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what we can do, guys, to save time here, we also need to do some integrations. So let's do that integration. The first integration that we need to do is we need to integrate integrate Microsoft Cloud App Security with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. We need to do that integration. Is everyone with me on this? So we are integrating Microsoft Cloud App Security with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and it has no dependency on endpoints. So let's go to Microsoft. Now I'll show you how the integration is done. It is a two-step process. So the first step is go to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Go to settings.
Yeah.
And yeah, go to settings here. Go to endpoints. And then directly come to advanced settings. Advanced settings. On the top. Advanced features. Yeah. Over here, you will need to do the first step, which is you will see one option which says Microsoft Cloud App Security. Scroll it down.
This one.
Okay, over here. Yeah, Microsoft Cloud Apps. So you can see what it says. Read. It says forwards Microsoft Defender for Endpoint signals to Defender for Cloud Apps, giving administrator deeper visibility into both sanctioned cloud apps as shadow IT. So this is one feature that you need to enable, right? Which is already enabled in your account, which we basically enabled today or yesterday. Now go to Cloud App Security. Now go to settings once again and go to Cloud App Security. Yeah, Cloud App Security. Cloud apps. Let it load. So this is how you integrate cloud apps with Defender for Endpoint, which has a great feature that will help you in configuring indicators of compromise. Okay, over here, scroll it down. Scroll it down. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, that option. You just saw Microsoft Defender for Endpoint option. Yeah, click here. So this is where you integrate. Just click on check the box that says enforce app access. That's it. On the alerts, now what it says that any alert that comes in Defender for Endpoint, which is triggered by Microsoft Cloud App Security, what should be the alert type? So instead of informational, change it, make it low. Instead of, I'm saying, that's totally up to you, but as a best practice, we do it low. That's it. If you want to give any redirect URL to users, you can put the URL here. I'm saying when you have applications or when you have URLs and domains blocked by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, do you want your user to get redirected to a different URL? Let's say I have blocked gmail.com. My user types gmail.com, user gets blocked. Now, instead of showing that user is blocked, I can probably redirect my user to another URL, which is like requesting access for Gmail, and user will fill in the form, and that will trigger an approval workflow. The approval email will go to users manager. If users manager approves it, then it will go to the security team, who will then allow gmail.com on user's device. So this is also a behavior that we do.
Error page, error landing page.
Not I'm saying whatever you understand. What I'm saying that this is a production configuration, that in a production environment, when I block something, there could be a legitimate need around it. So to satisfy that need, I would put a redirect URL here. That URL will take my user to my security team, to my InfoSec team, wherein user will fill a form, and the team will then approve that user for that URL. So you can put that here also, right? The other thing is from the warning perspective. Let's say you have allowed user warning. Now, for how many hours you can perform it? For example, this morning, OneDrive was configured in warn mode. So I got the warning from from the Defender, and then I said proceed, and I was able to access OneDrive. Now this is where you can put the duration, that for how long I can bypass that warning. So here you can put the duration in hours, let's say 12 hours, 24 hours, which means next 24 hours I can bypass, and after that it will not allow me to bypass it. Make sense?
Okay.
Just click on save. Great. So it is getting saved. So this is how we integrate Microsoft Defender for endpoint with Microsoft Defender for cloud apps. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes.
Okay. Now, even if you have done this integration as per the official documentation, it says that even if you have done the integration, it may take up to 2 hours or probably more than that to have this integration take effect. That I'll show you. I'll put the URL, the official documentation URL from Microsoft. I've just put that into the chat window. Can you click on that URL so that all the participants will see it? Okay, this is the URL. Scroll it down. You've already followed these steps. I just want you to read the disclaimer. Scroll it down. Stop here. Okay, over here, note. So what it says, it takes up to 2 hours after you enable the integration for the data to show up in Defender for cloud apps. So it will take up to 2 hours. It may happen the very next moment. It may happen in next 2 hours. And when Microsoft says 2 hours, it may take 4 hours also. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes.
Great. All right. So we are done with this configuration. Now, since, so for example, Dhananjay has confirmed that he's able to see all the systems managed by MD, which is great. Now, what we will do, guys, I want each one of you to have the same experience. So what we will probably do, let's close the session today here. Let's leave your system up and running tonight. Do not turn them off. It is absolutely fine. And we need to make sure that probably in the evening before you call it a day, just log into your systems, log into security portal and check whether all the systems are showing as managed by MDE. They will definitely come as managed by MDE provided if you have done the right configuration under advanced features. Second, if you have really onboarded those systems in MDE. What if you had never ran the script, onboarding script, then obviously it will not come. So keeping those two prerequisites in mind, just have all the systems onboarded in MDE. When you see it, just shut down your systems and then probably around 1 o'clock, an hour before the training session starts, turn them on. But if you don't see those systems managed by MDE tonight in next 4 hours, before you call it a day, run the onboarding script once again. It hardly takes a minute or maybe let's say 2 minutes. Run the onboarding script once again, leave the system up and running tonight. Do not shut it down. And take my words, tomorrow morning when you get up, when you log into your portal, you will see all the systems are showing as managed by MDE. Then shut down the systems and then turn them back on at 1 o'clock tomorrow so that when we start the session tomorrow, we will have all the systems shown as managed by MDE so that we can configure with rest of the configuration. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because there is no point of configuring the policies, configuring the indicators. None of them will take effect, and that configuration might cause more trouble. So we don't want to do that configuration. An hour that I'm giving you today, I will take 1 hour from you on Saturday. So I will increase the session duration by 1 hour on Saturday to accommodate for this hour that I'm giving you today. I hope everyone agrees to it.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes.
I think we are good then. So we can close the session for today. And I will meet you all tomorrow at sharp 2 o'clock. The reason we are not doing Sentinel today because I want to do Sentinel after this MDE is done so that when we have incidents in Sentinel, I can show you how Sentinel integrates with MDE. So for that, MDE needs to be configured first before we configure the Sentinel. Okay, that is all for today, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.